Chapter 876, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall. 1. Swallowing the water's spirit pearls, their presences turned back into the sea races. They then left together. Jian Chen and Nubis erased their presence and carefully headed for the Dare tribe. Several vast presences appeared from behind them at this very moment. It was Jad, Yun Feng and the other, shooting over like bolts of lightning. They headed directly for Jian Chen and Nubis. Both of them immediately became nervous. They did not have the ability to flee from 6 Saint Kings, especially when one of them was of the 6th heavenly layer. Stay calm and keep the act. Jian Chen stopped and sent a mental message to Nubis. If they were to run right now, it would definitely raise suspicion. The 6 Saint Kings arrived before them very quickly. They examined Jian Chen and Nubis, before paying no particular attention to them when they saw how the two were only saint rulers. Seniors, is there anything we can help you with? Jian Chen clasped his hands at them and asked politely. Did you see an azure-dressed lady fly by? Yun Feng asked condescendingly as he stared arrogantly at the two of them. No, Jian Chen replied seriously. Jad seemed to realize something as his eyes glimmered. I remember you too. Weren't you at the jazz auction? Why were you here? The others all looked toward Jian Chen and Nubis while cold lights flickered in their eyes. They revealed expressions of suspicion. Both Jian Chen and Nubis' heart sank slightly. Never did they think that Jad would remember 2 juniors he had only met once with his status. If Jian Chen did not explain this properly, it would definitely raise doubt. Any small error in this crucial moment could lead to their deaths. Senior, right after we left Jazz City, we sensed many experts heading in the same direction, so we went to check out what was going on out of curiosity. This is why we're here. Jian Chen casually forged a reason, hoping to trick them. How would it be possible for them to participate in this with their puny strength? Yun Feng, let's go find Qing Yishuan quickly and not waste any more time here. A 3rd heavenly layer old man said arrogantly. He looked down on the two of them. You're right. Finding Qing Yishuan is the most important matter at hand. Yun Feng nodded before he flew off first. The other 4 Saint Kings tailed behind Yun Feng closely. Although they were not companions of each other, they possessed the same objective, so they decided to work together to deal with Qing Yishuan. She was just too strong and she also had 2 extremely powerful helpers. It would have been very difficult for them if they moved alone. With Yun Feng's departure, Jad did not cause any more trouble for the two of them. He flew off in the other direction. Jian Chen and Nubis' beating hearts finally calmed down as they watched them disappear. They directly headed for the Dare tribe afterward without any hesitation. When they had arrived, the news that Qing Yishuan of the 8 human experts had taken the Octaterra map fragment quickly spread out like wildfire across the entire territory of the Serpent God Hall. It caused quite the commotion. Many greedy sea race experts and some great clans began to band together in search of Qing Yishuan's traces. The Saint King of the Hao family dragged his injured body back to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. He did not return home immediately and instead traveled to the center of the territory. At the center, a huge divine hall hung in the sky, filling the surroundings with a grand pressure. The Saint King entered the hall with no obstructions and was taken to a grand conference hall under the lead of a guard. A black-robed old man sat high up in the conference hall. He was short, only a meter tall, but his eyes shone with spirit. A vast pressure radiated from his body, encasing the entire hall. He was a hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, one of the most revered figures of the hall after the hall master. The Saint King of the Hao family immediately became meek before him, unwilling to carry any arrogance. He clasped his hands at the hall elder. Hao Dak pays respects to hall elder. The hall elder stared at the Saint King, calmed and asked, What do you need? Esteemed hall elder, I had succeeded in purchasing the map fragment, but it was taken by Qing Yishuan along the way. Qing Yishuan is a foreigner, yet she has interfered with the matters of the sea race. She has gone overboard and definitely cannot be forgiven. However, My Hao family does not have the strength to deal with the 8 human experts. I hope the esteemed Hall Elder can stand up for my Hao family and take back what was ours, the Saint King said unhappily. In the Sea Realm, the 3 Halls possessed a supreme status. They were the rulers of the Sea Realm and were extremely territorial. They normally would never interfere when organizations fought each other in their own territories, but they would never stand by when a foreigner decided to create troubles in the Sea Realm. The Hall Elder pondered for a while with his eyes closed before replying, "How Dak, 5 of the 8 human experts have already sworn their allegiance to one of the 3 halls. Qing Yishuan belongs to the Sea Goddess Hall. If we move against Qing Yishuan, we will definitely be met with the Sea Goddess Hall's resistance. There might even be conflict. Do you think that we, the Heaven's Spirit Hall, are willing to risk something like this to deal with Qing Yishuan over such a small matter?" "What? She has already pledged her allegiance to the Sea Goddess Hall. Was she ordered by them to steal the Octaterra map fragment?" the Saint King asked in shock. The Hall Elder shook his head. "Don't dwell on the matter of the map fragment anymore. Now that all 8 pieces have appeared, of which the Sea Goddess Hall has 4, the Serpent God Hall has 2 while we, the Heaven Spirit Hall, has 2, I believe the search for the Octaterra Divine Hall will begin soon. Every map fragment can allow 20 people in. When the search begins, the Heaven Spirit Hall will personally negotiate with the 2 other clans to get them to hand over the right to pick a total 20 people, 10 from each clan. We'll get some extremely powerful peak 14th star Sea Soul warriors to go in to ensure we have the strongest team. This way, we can reap the greatest rewards." The pale-faced Qing Yishuan sat in a secret basement in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Her face was rather dark from the poison. The venom of the silver-striped golden snake was just too powerful. Even with her overwhelming strength, she could only forcefully suppress it and was unable to force it out. A striking middle-aged man sat opposite to her. His face was weathered from experience, while he naturally radiated with a noble bearing. "You're quite heavily injured. Looks like there were quite a lot of people that had come for the map fragment, but it's all be worth it. Once you obtain that object, your strength will skyrocket. You would have nothing to fear even if you face up against 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Kings," smiled the man. His expression carried unconcealable joy. Qing Yishuan sat there pale-faced. She said, "I may be disappointing you then. The map fragment is not on me." The man became stunned and immediately sat up straight. He cried out in surprise, "What? You haven't obtained the map fragment?" Qing Yishuan's dazzling eyes immediately filled up with a cold killing intent. She ground her teeth. "I had already stolen the map fragment originally, but I was caught off guard and ambushed by 2 juniors while I was heavily injured. They took it away from me." "Juniors? What were their strengths?" The man's eyes flickered in surprise as he stared fixedly at Qing Yishuan. "They weren't Saint Kings," Qing Yishuan replied icily. A powerful killing intent and anger radiated from her body uncontrollably, causing the temperature of the room to plummet. The scene where the map fragment along with her undergarment was taken flashed through her head. It made her anger and killing intent skyrocket even more. 2 little juniors who weren't even Saint Kings actually managed to take something from you, with your strength. The man struggled to believe it. Qing Yishuan sat up instantly and stared at the man with a pressuring gaze. She grumbled, "That was what happened. Whether you believe it or not is up to you. The poison has spread by quite a lot, so I need to head back to the hall immediately. I'll be leaving." Qing Yishuan turned around and left as she fumed. "Qing Yishuan, according to our agreement, I can't give it to you since you haven't finished the mission," said the middle-aged man. Qing Yishuan fumbled slightly, before leaving the room. She thought, "I'll come back for the map fragment after I'm healed. You brats, I definitely won't let you off. I'll kill you even if I have to chase you to the ends of the earth." Qing Yishuan quickly spat out a sentence before leaving, "The map fragment's not on me. It was taken by a human saint ruler and a class 7 magical beast." As her words were spread, it created a great commotion. Qing Yishuan, one of the 8 renowned human experts, had actually been robbed by 2 puny saint rulers. This caused a lot of disbelief. Despite the disbelief, the people in search for the map fragment still kept this in mind. Other than Qing Yishuan, they included humans and magical beast saint rulers in their search. They would stop and question almost every human or magical beast saint ruler they came by, leading to countless complaints and protests from both races. However, what could they do? The previous patriarch, the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders of the Menghuang tribe gathered in the highest room of the tower in their tribe, each extremely stern. Chapter 877, Emissary of the Serpent God Hall, 2. After observing the pale expressions of the current patriarch and the 2 protector elders, the former patriarch asked, "Are the 2 experts recruited by the Dare tribe really as powerful as you've described, where one of them fought Xia Wang on an equal level while the other defeated the 3 of you all by himself?" "Patriarch, they're definitely stronger than us. Now that the Dare tribe has such powerful supporters, just what should we do?" A protector elder grumbled. His voice was rather weak as he was injured. The former patriarch frowned, also conflicted in his heart. The developments had already exceeded his expectations. Several vast presences appeared outside at this very moment and directly made way for the tribe. The sudden appearance of powerful auras caused the 4 of them to frown slightly, but it was soon replaced by astonishment. The current patriarch immediately cried out, "It's Sinner, Sinner has returned." Sinner's name was Yensen. He was the great-grandson of the current patriarch and was a prodigy in cultivation. His talent was so outstanding that he cultivated his way to saint ruler in the span of 400 years, becoming an expert in the region. He then became valued by the Serpent God Hall and was chosen as an emissary of the hall, then taken as a disciple of a hall elder. They held an extremely high regard for him and his future was very bright. The entire Menghuang tribe had increased greatly in status all because of him. There were even people who predicted that he would reach Saint King in the distant future and reach great renown among the Sea realm. Yensen had already cultivated at the Serpent God Hall for over 300 years as of the now. His strength was even more terrifying than before. Other than those from the Serpent God Hall, there was barely anyone else who knew exactly what level of cultivation he had reached. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe immediately left the tower to go and welcome him personally. The 4 of them cared deeply for Yensen, a talented junior who had an extremely great chance at breaking through to Saint King. 4 figures flew toward the tribe quickly. They were all young men in the same attire, with a serpent's embroidery at the left side of their chest. It was the emblem of the Serpent God Hall. "Yensen, is that the tribe you were born in up ahead? Your seniors seem to be coming out to welcome you. Probably only you can enjoy such an honor," laughed a young man who had a scaled forehead. His tone made him seem like he was currying up to Yensen. "You don't say, hey. Yensen's the genius of our Serpent God Hall. He's ranked up there even among all the other emissaries. He'll definitely break through to the 15th star and gloriously become an elder of our hall. He might even become a hall elder, an existence only second to the hall master," said another young man, praising Yensen without hiding anything. There was a faint pattern on his face, but other than that, his appearance did not stand out. Yensen was a young man who seemed to be in his 20s and was striking. He could not help but reveal a sliver of arrogance from the praises of his 2 companions and replied, "The 2 of you speak too highly of me. Between the 14th star and the 15th star is a chasm that is extremely hard to bridge. We can't be certain if I can make it over that gap or not. There's still a difficult journey before I can become an elder. Yensen, we have an important mission this time. We need to return the item to the hall elders as soon as possible, so we can't stick around for too long. None of us can bear the burden if something goes wrong," said the last young man. He was a broad-chested man who seemed to be in his 30s. He spoke with an exceptionally icy tone and had a cool face. Yensen frowned and retorted, "Hey, don't you understand the hall elder's orders? I'm the leader of the squad, not you. All of you need to listen to me. Since when did you become in charge? The young man immediately shut up and silently followed behind the three of them. With Jensen's arrival, he received a warm welcome from the entire tribe but was quickly invited into the tower by the four experts. Inside, the old patriarch explained the threat they currently faced to Jensen. What? Grandfather has been heavily injured? And the protector elders, you've been injured too. This is outrageous. Who dares bully my Menghong tribe? Don't they know that I am a part of the tribe as well? I don't care who they are, I'm not going to be letting them off easily. Jensen immediately became angered and slammed the table. As an emissary, he only feared organizations that possessed Saint Kings. Any other third-rate or second-rate force was not worthy of his attention. Fantastic. With Senner and the three emissaries' assistants, the two experts won't be able to pose any threat to us any longer. The current patriarch laughed happily. Jensen's sudden return was a blessing for the Menghong tribe. Grandfather, protector elders, wait here. Senner will lead my three companions to go teach those two experts recruited by the Dare tribe a solid lesson. I'll let them know just how powerful we are, Jensen said with a sense of justice. All right. It's about time that we, the Menghong tribe, showed off our strength. It'll show the other tribes that we really are strong. Senner, just wait. The four of us will come with you as well, said the former patriarch. Afterward, the four emissaries and the four experts of the Menghong tribe departed and headed off for the Dare tribe threateningly. Jian Chen and Nubis were currently discussing with the Dare tribe patriarch about how to deal with the Menghong tribe tens of thousands of kilometers away. They had no clue that the Menghong tribe had actually already set off and were charging toward them with ill intent. Warriors, the Menghong tribe probably won't be attacking my Dare tribe for the time being. How about you two stay at my tribe for these days? Would that work? The patriarch treated Jian Chen and Nubis extremely courteously as if they were gods being worshipped. Patriarch, the two of us still have some other important matters to attend to. We won't be able to stay for too long. Since the Menghong tribe isn't coming, why don't the two of us pay a visit to the Menghong tribe with the patriarch tomorrow in the morning and completely alleviate the patriarch of the burden of dealing with the Menghong tribe, asked Jian Chen. He had come to the Sea Realm with the intention of getting some extra time to power up. He could not afford to spend so much time dealing with these miscellaneous matters. Now that the problem of the monster cores had been resolved, Jian Chen only needed time before he could reach the third layer of the chaotic body and gain the power of a Saint King. Nubis still had some hidden essence to refine as well, so the day when he reached Class 8 was not far off either. The patriarch of the Dare tribe naturally felt extremely regretful over their hurried needed to depart, but he knew that his small tribe was not enough to get these two great experts to stay. All he could do was add, all right, let's go to the Menghong tribe tomorrow and finish them off since the two of you have other important matters to attend. We definitely can't let them off so easily after taking an interest in us. If it's possible, muttered the patriarch. The light in his eyes flickered as they revealed a bubbling wild ambition. Jian Chen understood that the patriarch wanted to borrow their power to swallow up the Menghong tribe. He said in reminder, Patriarch, the two of us are only tasked with blocking and repelling the Menghong tribe, to prevent them from forming any sort of threat to your tribe. We have not been called on to help you do other things. A space ring appeared in Jian Chen's hand silently and he gently placed it before the patriarch. Patriarch, here is 2,100,000 grand quality crystal coins. We are returning it to the patriarch. Please accept it. He had obtained all these coins from killing the black-robed old man when he had saved Kaya outside Jas City. The two of them went off to rest after their discussion with the patriarch, planning to pay a visit to the Menghong tribe the very next day. Although the Sea Realm had no night, they possessed a special way of keeping track of time, guaranteeing that the time here matched up with the world outside. Jian Chen directly entered the artifact to check on the white tiger after he returned to his dwelling. The tiger curled up in the palace constructed by the artifact spirit in the size of a small cat, while a huge pile of 1,000-year or even 10,000-year heavenly resources was placed nearby. In the recent period, Jian Chen had not let the white tiger out and instead made it devour heavenly resources to increase its strength. After all, it was still too weak. It could not deal with any of the problems outside. There were also many more experts in the sea realm than on the Tian Yuan continent. In the span of 5 years, the tiger has already reached the 5th cycle as a Heaven Saint Master. It's equal to a cycle a year. He'll probably be able to reach Class 7 in less than a year if he continues like this. At that time, he'll have the ability to flee even if he encounters 9th Heavenly Layer Saint Rulers, muttered Jian Chen as he stared at the white tiger. Afterward, he left the artifact space. In the morning of the next day, several grand presences suddenly began to surge forward from the horizon just as they planned to leave with the patriarch. Whoever injured the people of my Menghuang tribe, get out here right now and die. A roar of anger resounded from the horizon. It was like a clap of thunder that echoed through the surroundings. 8 ant-like figures quickly approached them along the horizon. It's the people of the Menghuang tribe, muttered the patriarch as he stared into the distance. Just when we wanted to go looking for them, they've shown up themselves. Saves us quite some time, sneered newbies. He completely looked down on these newcomers. The experts of the Menghuang tribe are attacking, the Menghuang tribe is attacking, make all preparations. We will protect the tribe with our lives and die with it if we have to. The Dare tribe that was originally peaceful fell into a mess immediately after the thunderous voice echoed past. Thousands of tribesmen ran out from their huts. Their faces were either filled with determination, fear or dread. The patriarch of the Dare tribe frowned slightly as he saw the tribe instantly fall into mayhem. He bellowed, "Don't worry. Our tribe has the assistance of 2 peak 14th star warriors. We do not need to fear the Menghuang tribe." The members of the tribe remembered that they too had experts from the patriarch's words, so they calmed down immediately. The 8 saint rulers of the Menghuang tribe arrived above the Dare tribe very quickly and surrounded them. The strength of the group caused many people of the Dare tribe to frown. They had a total of 8 saint rulers, far beyond any estimations made by the Dare tribe. Yensen floated high in the sky arrogantly, staring coldly at the people below. He looked at them as he would look at ants and said haughtily, "I am Yensen of the Menghuang tribe, emissary of the Serpent God Hall. Your tribe dared to injure the people of my Menghuang tribe, so today, I, Yensen, will be representing the Serpent God Hall to punish the Dare tribe. Where are the patriarch and the other 2 accomplices? Why don't you hurry up and come to accept my punishment?" It's Yensen. He's Yensen, the prodigy of the Menghuang tribe. Yensen's an emissary of the Serpent God Hall. His status is extremely great and yet he's actually come to our tribe. We're completely screwed this time. 4 emissaries have come at the same time. Our tribe has no more hope anymore. Even if we have 2 14th star Sea Soul warriors, it won't change anything. Yensen's status as an emissary frightened quite a few people of the Dare tribe and caused them to fall into despair once again despite just regaining some hope earlier. They no longer felt lucky. To them, becoming enemies with the Serpent God Hall was a death sentence. Emissaries of the halls could not be provoked. Chapter 878, 2 against 8, never did I think he had returned and would even come with 3 other emissaries. The Dare tribe patriarch could not help but become stern after seeing the 4 emissaries in the sky. Their appearance pressured him greatly. What bullshit emissaries! Acting so brazenly before me, the great newbies, have you grown sick of living? Newbies felt no fear. He rushed into the sky with his aura released, facing Yensen's group along with Jian Chen 100 meters in the sky. Yensen stared coldly at the 2 of them and growled, "So you're the 2 who injured the protector elders and the patriarch of my tribe? So what if we did? Brat, do you want to take revenge for them? Too bad you might not be able to with your current strength." Newbies crossed his arms and sneered at Yensen. His tone was scornful. Yensen was a prodigy that rarely appeared even in 1,000 years within the sea realm. He was raised in the palms of his seniors, maturing and being picked as an emissary of the hall. He had also taken an elder as his master. There were only a few people within the Serpent God Hall who could match his status, so he was a prominent figure. Even ordinary 15th star Sea Soul warriors needed to be courteous to him, so how could he, such a highly regarded prodigy, take Nubi's scornful words? He immediately became enraged and a thick killing intent began to pour out from his heart. I don't care which organization you belong to. I will be taking your life today. You need to learn the consequences of offending me. Do not challenge the dignity of a Serpent God Hall emissary. A trident appeared in Jensen's hand, which he directly used to stab at Nubis. Immediately, the surrounding water-attributed energy condensed around the trident before forming a huge, trident-shaped figure. It stabbed toward Nubis with tremendous force. Nubis turned into a blur and shot off into the distance with a slight movement. He said, "There are too many people here. I don't want to injure innocent people, so if you want to fight, come with me." Jensen's trident pierced through the blur left behind by Nubis and caused that region of space to tremble. The residual force shot off into the distance, disintegrating the mountain range over 10 kilometers away. Jensen pulled back the trident and immediately pursued Nubis. The three other emissaries followed closely behind him. Jian Qin turned into a flash and followed Nubis. However, just as he did that, the space around him began to shake. A silver-white spear the thickness of an arm shot toward him from behind. The former patriarch of the Menghuang tribe had also struck in that moment against Jian Qin, hitting him silently with an amush. A cold light flashed in his eyes and chaotic force filled every inch of his body. Jian Qin pushed the chaotic body to its limits. A faint, golden glow immediately appeared as the vast energies of the spear struck Jian Qin's back. In this crucial moment, the golden silk mail had blocked the spear's attack. However, the former patriarch was a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. The silk mail was unable to block the power of his attack. Its defenses collapsed while the spear continued onward with a decrease in force and brutally struck Jian Qin in the back. But what happened next caused the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe to become wide-eyed and drowned in disbelief. The spear did not impale Jian Qin as expected when it struck him and instead came to a stop after it hit. It was unable to continue any further. It seemed like the spear had struck a steel board, not a human. How is that possible? His defense is so powerful. Is he part of the Turtle Clan? The 4 experts all cried out. Not only was their opponent powerful, the toughness of his body was also anomalous. This exceeded all their expectations, immediately pressuring them greatly. This was because it would be extremely difficult for them to pose a threat to an opponent with such powerful defense with their strength. People of the Menghuang tribe, since you've decided to take the initiative and attack, you can't really blame me. Jian Qin pulled out the dragon-slaying sword coldly. He shot toward the 4 experts and began a grand battle with them in the sky. 3 of the 4 were all saint rulers below the 5th heavenly layer. Only the former patriarch belonged to the 8th, but Jian Qin's chaotic body could withstand attacks from the 7th. Together with the golden silk mail, it was extremely difficult for the former patriarch to harm him. On another side, Nubis and Jensen fought each other 100 kilometers away. Jensen was an emissary, so he was much more powerful than ordinary saint rulers. Unfortunately, he was only of the 8th heavenly layer and was not Nubis' opponent at all. He had already fallen into a disadvantaged position as soon as they began fighting. It's like an idiot's dream for you to want to punish me with your strength. Nubis laughed aloud. He detested Jensen's arrogant, condescending attitude, so he did not hold back with the offensive language. Nubis' hands were surrounded by surging saint force. He used his left hand to grab the trident as he slapped Jensen's face with his right. Jensen wanted to dodge, but the surrounding space suddenly froze and trapped him tightly. Even though it only lasted momentarily, it was enough to shave away Jensen's time to dodge or block. Slap! With a crisp blow, Jensen took a solid slap to the face. It was very powerful, causing Jensen's handsome face to swell and bulge. Even a few teeth were knocked out. Jensen became stunned by this slap. He seemed to reject the reality of things. He had displayed a prodigious talent ever since he was young and had grown up in the protection and care of his seniors. Even after he joined the Serpent God Hall, he was raised as a genius. Even most of the other emissaries treated him politely, unwilling to provoke or anger him. This gradually groomed a certain arrogance within him, while Nubi's slap directly knocked the light out of him. He had never been so insulted in his entire life. The three emissaries who watched on the side also became stunned as Jensen took the slap. A light of disbelief flooded from their eyes. Jensen was an emissary, as well as the disciple of a hall elder. His status was grand, yet there was actually someone who ignored the pride of the Serpent God Hall by slapping Jensen in the face. This was inconceivable. This was due to the fact that in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, even Saint Kings of Peak clans did not dare to treat emissaries as such. The emissaries were equivalent to the spokespeople of the Serpent God Hall. Slapping them was that same as slapping the Serpent God Hall. Jensen returned to his senses very quickly. He immediately fell into a rage as he felt the scorching pain on his face. This rage engulfed his mind and almost drove him mad. "Arg! I will kill you! I will kill you!" roared Jensen. His eyes became bloodshot. As a person blessed with talent, he could not withstand this humiliation. He immediately began to thrust the trident wildly at Nubis. Nubis causally dodged the attacks and sniggered, "You're dreaming if you want to kill me with your puny strength." As he said that, Nubis threw a fist at Jensen's chest, knocking him flying as he vomited blood. His chest caved in and quite a few ribs broke. Jensen stabilized himself very quickly and swallowed a recovery pill from his space ring. Afterward, he roared at the other three people nearby, "All of you get him together. The dignity of the Serpent God Hall cannot be tainted." The three other emissaries hesitated slightly, before finally all pulling out their own weapons and beginning their fight with Nubis. The three of them were not weak. Two of them were of the 8th heavenly layer, while the burly, cold-faced emissary was of the 9th. He possessed an equal level of cultivation to Nubis. Meanwhile, Jian Chen battled the four experts from the Menghuang tribe several kilometers away. The intensity of the battle attracted the attention of all the tribesmen below. Each and every one of them was observing with interest. Such a high-level battle between experts was extremely rare for these weak tribesmen. They gained quite a lot out of it as they watched from below. 3 of the 4 experts had not fully recovered from their injuries. Only the former patriarch possessed his peak strength, so even though they fought Jian Chen with numbers, they still failed to match him evenly. As soon as the battle began, they fell into a disadvantaged position where they were suppressed. Ding! With the ruler armament, Jian Chen possessed the strength of a 9th heavenly layer saint ruler in battle. He flicked the former patriarch's spear away with his sword, before jolting his arm. He stabbed out 3 times instantaneously, each strike with unbelievable speed. He seemed to have cut through time, breaking through the restrictions of space and stabbing 3 of them mercilessly through the chest before they could even react. Fresh blood unceasingly from their wounds. When the sword had impaled them, it left behind a small residue of chaotic force which wreaked havoc in their bodies. Arg! The 3 experts all cried out in pain. Chaotic force rampaged in them, bringing on an unendurable agony. They immediately lost the ability to battle and all fell to the ground before crossing their legs. They circulated all the energy within them to obliterate the strand of chaotic force. Although there was very little of it, the chaotic force was undoubtedly powerful. All they could do was forcefully suppress the chaotic force from tearing through their bodies with their full strength below the 5th heavenly layer. They were unable to purge it immediately. An ear-piercing boom appeared from behind. The former patriarch formed walls of blurs as he wielded his spear which surrounded Jian Chen. The sharp tip stabbed toward Jian Chen with powerful ripples of energy in an attempt to harm him. The corner of Jian Chen's mouth curled up into a scornful smile. His sword was famed for its speed, yet the former patriarch wanted to compete with him in this aspect. This undoubtedly was dooming himself. This was because once speed reached a certain level, the body and arms would also have to withstand a great pressure. Without a powerful body as a support, it could not be increased any further. Jian Chen's powerful body guaranteed him to be the victor in speed. Jian Chen's right arm jolted abruptly. His sword stabbed out with an unbelievable speed as his arm drove it and stabbed out thousands of times in just a short moment. The flashes of the sword packed together densely, layering on top of one another and blotting out the sky. It completely filled up the space before him. Ding! 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 The flashes of swords and spears constantly collided mid-air and produced a series of screeches which completely fused together. Every time they collided, a powerful force would burst out and cause the surrounding space to tremble. Meanwhile, the ground below was also struck by the residue energy, splitting and forming spiderweb cracks. In just a few seconds, the sky full of sword and spear flashes disappeared, revealing Jian Chen and the former patriarch. Chapter 879, Daylight Robbery. Jian Chen stood with his sword in hand. He did not borrow any types of energy to float in the sky, while the wild wind whistled. His clothes flapped freely in the wind as his hair swayed. He stood like an undefeatable war god. After the intense battle, Jian Chen's clothes remained completely untouched other than the hole caused by the initial ambush. On the other hand, the former patriarch was in a worse condition. He was disheveled, covered in countless vicious sword slashes, and his clothes were dyed red. He seemed to be made of blood, which was terrifying. He breathed heavily as he hung at an altitude of 1,000 meters. The 5-meter-long spear drooped powerlessly to the ground as if he no longer had the power to raise it. In his battle with Jian Chen, he suffered an utter loss with his strength as a saint ruler of the 8th heavenly layer. Other than the initial ambush, he had not even managed to touch the corner of Jian Chen's clothes and had instead fallen into such a horrible condition himself. I thank the warrior for your mercy. May I ask who this warrior is and how this warrior would like to be referred as? The former patriarch growled. His voice was slightly feeble. He knew extremely well that Jian Chen had countless chances to kill him before. This was because his attacks were completely suppressed by Jian Chen. The way Jian Chen struck out with the sword was just too fast, reaching an unbelievable level. I belong to no organization. I am Yang Yutian. Jian Chen replied calmly. Whatever. Since the Dare tribe has such a powerful warrior supporting them, we, the Menghuang tribe, will be retreating. According to the rules of our realm, my Menghuang tribe cannot touch the Dare tribe again in the next 100 years, the former patriarch said dejectedly. Even though he was unwilling to give up on this attack, he could do nothing. His tribe possessed Yansen, an emissary of the Serpent God Hall, but the 3 halls never interfered with battles over territory. Yansen could only bring honor to the Menghuang tribe and elevate their status. They could not use his connection with the Serpent God Hall to strengthen the tribe. Jian Chen's battle had come to a conclusion, but newbies had yet to come to an end. 3 8 heavenly layer saint rulers and 1 9th heavenly layer emissary engaged in an intense battle with newbies. Every time they clashed, great booms would ring out while the violent residue energy churned the surroundings. It caused the space to tremble and the ground to crack. You 4 kiddos aren't weak, but too bad your strength in battle is not enough. I can take on 10 of you guys at the same time, said Nubis as he fought. He fought them easily and skillfully even though there were 4 of them. Probably only Saint Kings could pressure Nubis nowadays. I won't be messing with you all any longer, in case someone tells me off for wasting time again, Nubis said with a laugh. His attacks suddenly became vicious, dodging their attacks and plunging his 2 hands into the chests of 2 of the emissaries. He impaled them before he threw a kick at Jensen's head with lightning speed. It jolted up his origin soul and knocked him out immediately. In the blink of an eye, 3 of the 4 emissaries had lost their abilities for battle. The last person was of the 9th heavenly layer and named Dehe. He could not help but react greatly, but he did not choose to retreat. Instead, he wielded his trident as he stabbed it toward Nubis with all his might. Nubis stuck out a finger and a golden thread shot from the tip of it. It bound the trident tightly. Nubis then planted a vicious kick onto Dehay's chest as he took advantage of the situation. Nubis had basically put all his strength into that kick. It sent Dehay flying off into the distance as he vomited blood, while the bones near the area his foot had landed turned to smithereens. His organs were also greatly wounded and had started to crack. It caused him to bleed from his 7 orifices. All 4 emissaries were knocked to the ground by Nubis. One had fainted directly, while the 3 others were heavily injured and pale-faced. Nubis descended from the sky and smiled at the 3 emissaries. He mocked them and said, "How is it, you superior emissaries? How's the feeling of being beat up? It must be very novel. Tell me, just who's punishing who? You dare to injure the emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. It doesn't matter who you are, you don't have much time to live, the Hall Elders will definitely avenge us. They'll definitely wipe out your soul. The Hall will not accept any offense against emissaries." The 2 people who sucked up to Yensen earlier glared at Nubis and they ground their teeth. Rage burned in their eyes. As emissaries of the Serpent God Hall, they each had a superiority complex. They believed that they were greater than other people. They could not accept anyone treating them like this, as to them it was a great humiliation. Nubis was angered. A cold light flickered in his eyes, while stern killing intent appeared on his face. He sneered, "Ha, quite brave to say that I'll have my soul wiped out. Since that's the case, why don't I let you experience it first? What arrogance! I doubt you have the courage to kill an emissary of the Hall," said one of them with a snicker at his threat. "Since you want to die so badly, I'll grant your wish." Killing intent swelled in Nubis' eyes. 5 fine golden threads suddenly shot from his fingertips, turning into 5 streaks of golden light as they shot for the center of their eyebrows. He intended to wipe out their souls. The surrounding space froze abruptly at the same time under Nubis' control. He tightly locked the 3 of them in place, preventing any of them from escaping. All they could do was watch as their deaths drew near. The expression of the emissary who had provoked Nubis earlier finally changed as he sensed Nubis' killing intent. A shred of fear permeated his heart. He had never thought that there would be someone foolish enough to kill an emissary in the territory of the Serpent God Hall. In that moment, their minds all fell into disarray. They were superior emissaries who possessed highly regarded statuses with bright future. Reaching the 15th star was only an issue of time for them. None of them wanted to die right now. "Nubis, stop!" A yell appeared from far away at this moment. It was Jian Chen who quickly drew near. The golden threads stopped an inch away from the emissaries' foreheads. Nubis glanced toward Jian Chen. He hesitated slightly before he pulling his hand back and releasing the golden threads. Jian Chen arrived beside Nubis. "Nubis, just spare their lives." "All right. Since you're speaking for them, I'll just spare their lives this time. But we need to take their space rings," said Nubis. Jian Chen did not reject this idea. Ever since they had come to the Sea Realm, what they lacked the most was money. The 4 emissaries probably possessed quite a lot of it in their space rings, and collecting some could never be a bad thing. If they ever came across something important that they required, at least they would not have to worry about money. When they heard how Nubis wanted to take their space rings, the 3 of them reacted immediately. One of them cried out, "No, you can't take our space rings." Nubis' face darkened as he spoke, "Your space rings or your life. Choose one. If you want to live, then leave behind your space rings. Otherwise, I'm not going to be showing any mercy." The 3 of them dwelled on this matter for quite some time, before finally coming to an agreement. They unwillingly took off their space rings and handed them over to Nubis. Afterward, Nubis arrived before the fainted Yensen and also took his ring. The expressions of the 3 conscious emissaries immediately became extremely ugly as they watched Yensen's space ring get taken. They all gritted their teeth without saying anything. "All right, you can leave." Nubis waved his hand and dismissed the three of them impatiently. The three emissaries endured their injuries as they stood up, leaving with dirty appearances and Yensen on their backs. Nubis played around with the 4 space rings and said, they should have quite a lot of crystal coins in there as emissaries. Let's go first. We've helped the Dare tribe deal with the Menghuang tribe, so it's about time we left, said Jian Chen. Afterward, they returned to the Dare tribe once again. When they returned, they witnessed the Dare tribe patriarch and the Menghuang tribe patriarch signing something similar to a blood contract. The contract was a rule for determining the victor in the conflicts between organizations. You 4 hand over the space rings on you, Nubis said arrogantly to the 4 of them. The 4 experts all reacted with frowns as they heard these words. The former patriarch controlled himself and said, according to the rules, we only need to pay up some crystal coins. Taking the space rings is something that breaks the rules. We can't do that. Shut the fuck up, what bullshit rules, hurry up and cough up the space rings, growled Nubis. He was actually using the situation to rob people. The expressions of the 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe changed. However, due to Nubis and Jian Chen's strength, they felt extremely intimidated. As a result, they said nothing and obediently took off their space rings, handing them over to Nubis. Chapter 880, A Mysterious Key. The 4 experts of the Menghuang tribe were forced to give their space rings to Nubis and then left with their injuries. Jian Chen did not take their lives and removed the sliver of chaotic force in the 3 of them. Even if you ignored the fact that he really did not have any hatred for them, the Menghuang tribe also had a person who was a part of the Serpent God Hall. Killing these 3 would probably cause some problems. Jian Chen had only come to the Sea Realm to seek refuge and gain some more time to power up. He naturally did not wish for something like that to happen. Patriarch, since the matters regarding the Menghuang tribe has been resolved, we have completed our mission. We shall bid you farewell, Jian Chen said it plainly with clasped hands to the Dare tribe patriarch after the departure of the group from the Menghuang tribe. Warriors, you must be exhausted from the battle before. Why don't you rest for a few days with my tribe, so that we can properly thank you for your deeds, urged the patriarch. Jian Chen shook his head. I thank the patriarch for his goodwill, but we really have important things that we need to go deal with. We cannot delay any longer. Jian Chen and Nubis left immediately after declining the patriarch. They had come to the Sea Realm to increase their strength and not to play. They could not waste too much time on these miscellaneous matters. The patriarch secretly sighed inside as he watched Jian Chen and Nubis leave. He mumbled, just how great would it have been if those 2 powerful warriors could stay with our tribe forever. It's a pity my puny tribe can't take them in. The Grand Elder of the tribe walked over to the patriarch's side. Patriarch, the 2 warriors have injured the 4 emissaries from the Serpent God Hall. Do you think the hall will take this as offense? The Grand Elder was worried. The patriarch shook his head. Battles between emissaries and tribes itself is already breaking the rules of the hall. It'll be very fortunate for them if they avoid punishment once they get back. Why would the hall punish us over such small matters? The tribes like the citizens of the hall. The hall does not take part in arguments and disagreements between citizens unless it gets out of hand. They don't just take sides so casually. Nubis and Jian Chen traveled at an altitude of 1,000 meters. Nubis constantly sniggered as he played around with the 8 space rings. He was guessing just how many crystal coins there were in there. Along the way, the 2 of them encountered many groups of saint rulers and even saint kings who were looking around. They were searching for the traces of the Octaterra map fragment. They would stop human saint rulers and class 7 magical beasts whenever they came across any and would question them. Some saint kings even chose to take a more brutal method, directly taking and looking through their space rings. Jian Chen and Nubis had been stopped many times as well, but since their presences were the sea races, very few people came forward to look for trouble on purpose. However, they did come across a few unreasonable groups of saint rulers who wanted to search through their space rings forcefully, and this almost led to battle. Jian Chen and Nubis were on the move for an entire day before they finally stopped when they arrived at a desolate mountain range. They carved out a cave in the depths of the range and settled down temporarily. They wanted to spend the next period of time cultivating. Jian Chen did not rush over the matter of searching for the Octaterra map. There were experts everywhere in search of the map fragment right now, so if these experts found out they were the ones in possession of the fragment, the pair would be hunted down by everyone. At that time, keeping it would become extremely difficult. Jian Chen lodged a luminous pearl into the roof of the cave and the darkness was illuminated slightly. On the other hand, Nubis squatted down on the side and began to look through the 8 space rings. Nubis really gained quite the harvest this time. There were great quantities of crystal coins, a total of over 30 million, as well as some miscellaneous items in the rings. The amount astonished the two of them. There were also some cultivation methods, insight on cultivation, as well as 2 heaven-tier battle skills. However, they were only useful for Heaven Saint Masters and meant nothing to the two of them, so Nubis casually threw them to one side. At this very moment, an extremely obscure energy began to radiate from the large pile of objects. It drew in Nubis' curiosity, so he poured out the pile from the space ring before he started to rummage through it. An ordinary metal square box around 30 centimeters long and wide was soon pulled out. Nubis examined it curiously and said, "The thing inside must be very valuable." He then proceeded to open it slowly. The metal box was made of a very special material. Obviously, it could isolate and block out the ripples of energy inside. It was extremely difficult to discover any energy radiations when it was closed, but as soon as it was opened, it would begin to pervade the surroundings. The energy was powerful and vast, like an emperor of the world. With its appearance, the water attributed energy in the radius of several dozen kilometers quietened down as if they were scared. It was also like they had met their ruler and they all fell to the ground in subservience. That's too obvious. It'll attract the attention of other experts. Hurry up and enter the saint artifact, Jian Chen growled. Before he could take a closer look at the object in the box, a streak of golden light shot out from between his eyebrows and turned into a golden tower. Afterward, it sucked the two of them into the artifact space with the metal box. A woman silently appeared in the empty cave after they had been sucked away. She was elegant and her face was concealed by a veil. If Jian Chen and Nubis saw her, they would definitely recognize her as that mysterious woman who gave them the water spirit's pearls. The light in the woman's eyes flickered as they became icy. She murmured, "Never would I think that some emperors charged into the sea of despair and obtained a piece of abyssal crystal then forged it into a key. Did you really think you could find me with that key?" Jian Chen and Nubis suddenly appeared in the central hall of the artifact space. A cool aura immediately began to expand from all directions with them as the center. It filled the surrounding region with dense water-attributed energy. "Master, what's that?" The artifact spirit appeared silently beside Jian Chen. The light in his eyes flickered with suspicion as he stared at the object in the metal box curiously. Jian Chen and Nubis stared fixedly at the item in the box. Currently, the box had been completely encased in a ball of water blue light. They could vaguely see a palm-sized key lying inside. All the bright light originated from the key. Jian Chen carefully lifted the key from the box to examine it. The blue light illuminated their faces, dyeing the two of them blue. They seemed rather demonic. "It's actually a key." "Is this the key to some treasure?" said Nubis as a guess. Jian Chen pondered about the key before returning it to the box. He slowly closed the lid and growled, "This key must open something important. It can't be for something insignificant. I just wonder whether the item belongs to the emissary himself or the Serpent God Hall. If it was only his, then that would be easy, though it would be problematic if it was the Hall's." "Jian Chen, looks like we need to find another place that's even further away before we go into secluded cultivation. Just in case the people of the Serpent God Hall come looking for us," Nubis suggested. Jian Chen nodded. "Artifact spirit, I'll leave the box here with you for now. Take care of it for me. Yes, master. The artifact spirit replied hurriedly. Jian Chen left the artifact space with newbies afterward. They returned to the cave. They no longer wanted to stick around the area, they quickly shoved the pile back into the space ring and left immediately. They flew away. At the same time, the 4 emissaries, including Yensen, returned to the Serpent God Hall in a horrible shape. They narrated what they had experienced on the way to a hall elder. The hall elder was a burly man in sleeveless clothes. His face was vicious and radiated with a brutal aura. The emissaries all trembled before him as they experienced a fear from the very depths of their souls. This was equivalent to the pressure of a bloodline, a phenomenon when the weak faced the strong. What? You actually lost it? The hall elder fell into a rage when he heard that the 4 of them had lost their space rings. His eyes quickly narrowed into a glare. They became like 2 swords that could make space tremble stab the void. All 4 emissaries knelt on the ground as they trembled. They were terrified. You 4 pieces of trash. The reason why we got the 4 of you to bring it back was to deceive others. Haven't those pathetic elders told you just how important that item is to the Serpent God Hall before you left? Not only did you go to provoke others when carrying something so important, you even lost it in the end. Do I have any reason to keep you all around? The middle-aged man broke into a howl. He directly threw a punch toward the 4 of them as he reached the end of these words. Charlie, calm down, boomed an old voice. Immediately, a blue screen of light appeared and encased the 4 emissaries. As the man's fist collided with the blue screen, it began to tremble violently before it shattered in the end. The remaining force landed mercilessly on the 4 emissaries, causing them to all vomit blood. They shot back like cannonballs and struck the wall behind them viciously. An old man walked in unhurriedly with a cane. The burly man stared coldly at him and growled, "Look at the good disciple you took in. He has actually lost something so important. You should know just how important that item is to the hall master. Neither of us can bear the wrath of the hall master." The old man replied calmly, "Charlie, the item has already been lost. Even if you kill the 4 of them, it won't be of any help. Our top priority is to get it back before the hall master comes out of seclusion. We need to fix our mistakes." Chapter 881, Xia Wang's submission. Charlie was calmed down by the old man before turning to the 4 emissaries. "Tell me what happened in detail again." "Esteemed hall elder, this was what happened. When we were hurrying back to the hall with the item, we came across Jensen's tribe, so we stopped for a while. His tribe just happened to be facing a threat where 3 of their experts had been injured. As a result, Jensen led our group of us to go settle it. The 4 of us were defeated by an extremely powerful person at the other tribe and also had our space rings taken. Yeah, not only did they take our space rings, they wanted to kill us. They have no respect for the Serpent God Hall. They looked down on us." The 2 emissaries that had curried up to Jensen each added something. They were furious as if the dignity of the hall was more important than anything else. The old man looked toward the silent Dehe and asked, "Dehe, is that true?" He nodded. "They have indeed told the truth, esteemed hall elder." "Then what are we waiting for? Hurry up and send people to catch them. We need to get the item back," Charlie ordered immediately. The old man nodded slightly. "The existence of that item cannot be leaked. Once the Sea Goddess Hall and Heaven's Spirit Hall learn about it, things will become problematic, so send people who won't draw a lot of attention this time. We can't send too many and they can't be too strong." "Dehe, how strong were the people who took your space rings?" Dehe thought about it and replied, "Esteemed hall elder, they should be at the peak of the 14th star according to my battle with them. However, they're extremely powerful, equal to some 15th star sea soul warriors. If that's the case, we'll send 2 15th star elders, as well as the 4 of you since you can recognize them," said the old man. "Yes, esteemed hall elder," replied the 4 emissaries in unison. Remember, this is your only chance to redeem yourselves. If you can bring it back, then all will be fine. Should you fail, the wrath of the hall master will be waiting for you, growled Charlie with a pale face. Charlie's stern words caused the 4 emissaries to tremble. Dread and uneasiness skyrocketed in their hearts, reaching their heads. They could not help but tremble. Right now, they were full of regret. If they had known something like this would have happened, why would they commit this mistake? Quickly, the 4 of them left the hall with 2 15th star elders and headed directly for the Dare tribe. As the group of people moved out, Jian Chen and newbies were also traveling away. Jian Chen held a map in his hand as he looked around to confirm their location while traveling. He wanted to make sure that they were not lost. They only stopped after several tens of thousand kilometers. They had come across a desolate, ancient forest. Jian Chen looked around and murmured, "We should be around 70 or 80,000 kilometers from the Dare tribe now. It should be safe. Let's stay here for now. We can return to the Tian Yuan continent after we become strong enough," said newbies. The 2 of them descended, carving out another temporary cave dwelling. As they did that, the 4 emissaries arrived at the Dare tribe with 2 unimpressive old men. They called out as they floated in the sky, "Where is the patriarch of the tribe? Come out." The patriarch immediately left the main hall when he heard the voice. His face immediately twitched when he noticed the 4 emissaries, before directing his attention to the 2 ordinary-looking old men behind them. His heart sank as he felt an ill omen. "I am the patriarch. Is there anything I can help the emissaries with?" The patriarch replied with clasped hands. He was extremely polite. "Where did the 2 of them go? Call them out." Jensen glared at the patriarch as he yelled this out. He was now much more confident with 2 15th star experts supporting him. "Esteemed emissaries, the 2 warriors have already left quite some time ago. They're not in our tribe anymore," the patriarch replied meekly. "What? They've left?" The 4 emissaries immediately became ugly. In which direction did they go off? Where did they go? This time, the speaker was one of the old men. The patriarch extended his hand in the direction Jian Chen and newbies had flown off. The 2 warriors went that way. As for where they went off to, I have no idea. Many tribesmen had witnessed the direction Jian Chen and newbies had flown off to. As a result, the patriarch could only tell the truth. He could not afford to play around with the people of the hall. Pursue them. The 4 emissaries and 2 old men immediately left in the direction the patriarch had provided without any hesitation. Jian Chen and newbies had already entered secluded cultivation in the depths of the forest. They were working hard on increasing their strength. 100 kilometers away from them, a white-robed, malicious-looking young man carefully made his way through the vegetation. He quickly approached Jian Chen and newbies' dwelling with his presence erased. "I need to obtain the divine water. You can't escape me no matter where you run off to." The man's determination was unrelenting. He was the expert who had fought with Jian Chen in the auction, Xia Wang. Xia Wang had found Jian Chen's location through an unknown method. He erased his presence and approached the cave quickly and silently, passing through the barrier successfully using a special technique that did not alert the barrier owner. He entered the cave where Jian Chen cultivated. Jian Chen currently sat on the ground with his eyes closed and legs crossed. He was in a state of deep concentration and did not notice that someone had invaded their dwelling at all. Xia Wang's heart had already stopped beating. His body was cold too, the same temperature as the surroundings. He seemed to have melded perfectly with the surroundings. Xia Wang stared calmly at Jian Chen at the entrance of the cave. He thought, "You're the weakest, so handling you should be easier. Once I wound you, I'll use you to threaten the other person to hand over the divine water." He proceeded with his thoughts, gently approaching Jian Chen. He then struck out with lightning speed and directly went for Jian Chen's heart. Xia Wang's hand passed through Jian Chen's chest without much difficulty, but his heart sank, an afterimage. Xia Wang's reactions were extremely fast. He turned around suddenly, only to see Jian Chen standing there unharmed and looking back at him scornfully. Xia Wang, did you find last time not enough and have come back for some more? A lazy voice sounded from outside. Newbies who had stayed in another cave walked in with his arms crossed, standing beside Jian Chen. Xia Wang's face scrunched up into a scowl. He cried out, "Impossible. I used my innate ability to enter here silently. How did you discover me? You tailed us the whole way, maintaining a distance of 1,000 kilometers. You were discovered long ago. Though, I need to say that your innate talent is extremely powerful. You could actually pass through the barrier cast down by us. You probably really would have succeeded if it was someone else. Too bad it was us," smiled Jian Chen. "That's my misfortune, then." Xia Wang gritted his teeth before directly he shot upward. He burst through the rock in an attempt to escape. "Leaving's not so easy." Newbie's mouth curled into a sneer. He too burst through the rock like Xia Wang, blocking Xia Wang's path. Xia Wang glared coldly at Newbies and growled, "I may not be able to beat you in battle, but you can't stop me from leaving." "Really now?" Newbies stared at Xia Wang scornfully and said, "Do you think you're the only one with innate abilities and that I don't have any?" Xia Wang's expression immediately changed. He did not know how to reply. Jian Chen also flew up and said, "Xia Wang, you put so much effort into tailing us over tens of thousand kilometers. Do you really just want to leave like this? Don't you want your divine water anymore?" Xia Wang snorted coldly. He said nothing as he thought of a way to escape. "You only move alone. You want the divine water to break through to the 15th star. How about this? You follow us in the future and I'll take responsibility for your breakthrough," smiled Jian Chen. A surprised light flashed across Xia Wang's eyes. He stared back fixedly. "With the divine water as remuneration?" "Correct." Jian Chen replied. "You're willing to give me the divine water in your possession?" "No. I won't be giving you the divine water. However, I can guarantee that I will obtain more divine water in 50 years' time at most." "There will definitely be your share," swore Jian Chen. "The divine water only appears once in 1,000 years. It's impossible for more to appear in the next 50 years, while the divine realm where it comes from is riddled with dangers. It's almost certain death if you venture into it," growled Xia Wang. "That's not your problem. You only need to know that you will be obtaining divine water within 50 years, said Jian Chen. "Why should I trust you?" "You can only trust me because that's your only chance of obtaining it." Xia Wang became silent. The light in his eyes was uneasy as if he was stuck in a great dilemma. He did not have long left. If he did not break through, he had a little over 100 years of life at most. "All right, I agree. I will follow you from now onward, but you need to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xia Wang agreed in the end after much deliberation. He did not have much choice at all. Chapter 882, Attack of Experts. "However, what do you want me to do since I'm now following you?" Xia Wang asked. "We'll decide this later. We want to go into seclusion for a period of time, so go settle down somewhere 10 kilometers away. Prevent anyone from approaching us. Guard us," said Jian Chen. Xia Wang nodded. "All right, I'll do that. I do hope you won't go back on your words. You have to give me the divine water within 50 years. Xia Wang turned around and left, carving out his own cave to settle down in. "Jian Chen, why are you getting him to follow us? He is quite strong, but he's of no great help to us. And can you really obtain more divine water within 50 years? Newbies asked in doubt after Xia Wang had left. He felt extremely confused with what Jian Chen had just done. Jian Chen raised his head slightly and zoned out as he stared the deep blue sky. "We have a piece of the Octaterra map, so we should have the right to enter the Octaterra Divine Hall. From those experts who fought over the fragment, I've heard that only those below Saint Kings can enter. Xia Wang's of the 9th heavenly layer and he's not weak. There shouldn't be a lot of people who are his opponents at the same level. When we enter the Divine Hall, he should be of great help to us. What? Only those below Saint King can enter the Divine Hall. Doesn't that mean we can't break through? Nubis was surprised. Right. Before we enter, we cannot break through. This is why you must limit your growth this time when you go into seclusion. Fuck it. Since I can't break through, then I won't break through. Though I still can take in some of the hidden essence from that old snake. It'll take me to a level where I'm only an inch away from breaking through. It'll also make breaking through successfully much easier in the future. Alright then, I'll be cultivating. Nubis left the cave. Soon afterward, Jian Chen also returned to his secluded cultivation. He began to refine the monster cores in the Saint artifact with the help of the sword spirits. Right now, the chaotic Niden was only the size of a pigeon's egg. He still had a long road ahead of him before he reached the 3rd layer of the chaotic body. He needed to reach the peak of the 2nd layer as soon as possible. Master, you should be able to absorb the energy of the Yinyang Saint Rock once you reach the 5th layer, said Ziying. His voice carried a sliver of urgency. Ziying, what layer of the chaotic body will I reach after absorbing the energy? Jian Chen asked out of curiosity. Master's chaotic body should be able to reach the 7th or 8th layer, or even the 9th, after Master absorbs all the energy of the rock, Ziying replied after some thought. He was not exactly sure. Jian Chen's heart began to beat uncontrollably after he heard that. A sense of urgency ignited in his heart, tempting him to try and reach the 9th layer at this very moment. Just what level of strength will I have after I absorb all the energy? Will it be Saint Emperor? Or beyond that? If I gain the power that surpasses Saint Emperors, I'll definitely copy Mo Tianyun and charge into the Forsaken Saint world. I'll cause an upheaval there and form rivers of blood from my slaughter. I'll make it so that they will never have the ability to threaten the Tianyuan continent ever again. Jian Chen thought as he clenched his fists. A few days later, a furious cry resounded from a grand divine hall that hung 100 meters in the air, several tens of thousands of kilometers away from where Jian Chen was. You trash, you pieces of trash. You're literally incompetent trash. You couldn't find them even when there were the 2 of you. Charlie howled angrily. The 4 emissaries trembled as they knelt in front of Charlie. Their faces were filled with horror. They had spent so many days outside yet they had still failed to find Jian Chen and Nubis. All they could do was return to the hall and report this to the hall elder. Just wait for your death once the hall master comes out of seclusion if you can't get it back. You pieces of trash, just how the fuck did you screw up such an easy mission? Charlie paced around the hall furiously. He was extremely worried. Charlie, that thing has its own, unique presence and it was also forged by an emperor 30,000 years ago. It contains a sliver of the emperor's power. That power should be the same as the power of the divine hall, so why don't we cast the water mirror technique together and see if we can find its whereabouts through borrowing a sliver of the hall's power? Jensen's master said. Alright. That's all we can do now. I hope the hall master doesn't become angered when we use a sliver of the hall's power. Charlie nodded before turning to the 4 emissaries. Why don't the 4 of you hurry up and piss off? The 4 of them hurriedly climbed up off the ground and left the hall. Around 15 minutes later, the 2 hall elders walked out as well. Both of them seemed slightly weary, while Jensen's master held a piece of paper. We've found their whereabouts. Their positions are marked on the map. Immediately go with the 2 15th star elders to get the item back and redeem yourselves. Master, we'll definitely bring it back this time, swore Jensen as he took the map. Afterward, the 4 of them left together. Charlie said with a deep voice as he gazed into the direction they had disappeared off to, I hope they succeed this time. Sigh, that item's just too special. We can't let any part of it leak out or attract the attention of the other 2 halls. That's why we can't send too many people, or I would have moved out personally long ago, said Jensen's master with a sigh. Several days later, Xia Wang lied in boredom as he stared blankly at the ceiling of the dark cave. He was carrying out his task silently, guarding Jian Chen and newbies. He prevented any disruptions to their cultivation. Can he really get me the divine water within 50 years? Xia Wang cradled his head as he murmured on the icy cold ground. He had already repeated similar words countless times that day. To think that I, Xia Wang, someone who was also renowned among the people, someone who moves alone and does what he wants, would have such a day where I fall to such a level. I've become someone else's pawn. Whatever. This is my only hope of reaching the 15th star. If there isn't even the slightest hope, I won't have any chance at all. I'll trust them for now. Just some temporary grievances are nothing, murmured Xia Wang. He really struggled to yield and work below others with his personality. All he could do was constantly comfort himself and his unhappiness. Xia Wang's eyes narrowed at this moment. Crap, someone's come. He disappeared with a flash, having already left the cave. He appeared once again floating 1,000 meters in the sky this time. Far away, 6 figures shot toward them with lightning speed. In the end, they stopped 100 meters from Zhu Wang, staring at him with narrowed eyes. You're emissaries of the Serpent God Hall. Xia Wang's expression changed slightly when he noticed their clothes. Jensen looked at Xia Wang but did not pay any further attention to him. He looked around and said, they should be here according to Master's map, but it's not this person. The 2 old men who followed the emissaries looked in the same direction in unison. One of them said, there are 2 people in secluded cultivation right now. I wonder if it's them. Well, that's not a problem. Just get them to appear this instance and we'll know whether they're who we were searching for, said the other old man. Afterward, he grabbed at the empty space and the energy in the surroundings quickly began to condense. In the end, it formed a huge palm 100 meters wide that fell on the mountain on where Jian Chen and newbies cultivated. Boom! The mountain collapsed loudly. The palm strike sent countless pieces of loose rock flying everywhere, while the barrier cast down by newbies was obliterated like tofu. It could not withstand it. A 15th star sea soul warrior. Xia Wang immediately revealed an ugly expression when he saw this. The light in his eyes flickered uneasily. Who dares destroy my dwelling? Are you looking to die? A furious roar resounded from the collapsed mountain. Newbies flew out furiously from the rubble, while a cold light glimmered in his eyes. He radiated with great killing intent. The 4 emissaries' eyes lit up when they heard this extremely familiar and arrogant voice. They pointed at newbies. It's him, it's him. Elders, he was the one who took the item. A sliver of joy flashed past the old men's eyes when they heard this. They thought, he really isn't at the 15th star. Looks like the Hall Elder's mission will be a piece of cake this time. Boom! Loose rubble flew in all directions and Jian Chen also shot out of the rocks with the dragon-slaying sword in hand. He shot toward Jensen's group with newbies with a darkened complexion. He faced the people from the hall. They were separated by a distance of several hundred meters. Newbie's eyes narrowed as he examined these people. In the end, he locked onto the 2 old men and he could not help but become slightly stern. He said heavily, I didn't think 2 15th star experts would come as well. Jian Chen's face could not help but twitch when he heard that 2 Saint Kings had actually come. He could only deal with 9th heavenly layer Saint Rulers with his current strength. He was not the opponent of Saint Kings. Jensen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and newbie's stern expressions. Ha, don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Chapter 883, Fighting Saint Kings. Jensen could not help but laugh aloud as he saw Jian Chen and newbie's stern expressions. Ha, don't you regret it now? This is the outcome of offending the emissaries of the hall. Too bad it's all too late now. There's no use regretting it now. Just obediently accept your deaths. Nubis taunted them and said, did you think you could deal with us just by calling 2 15th star experts? As he said that, a humongous presence began to radiate from Nubis. It enveloped tens of thousands of mountains. The presence had vaguely surpassed the 9th heavenly layer, reaching an even higher level. There seemed to be a pressure in the presence. Nubis' battle intent was greatly roused. He felt no fear, as if the 2 saint kings before him could be defeated. Xia Wang's heart shivered when he felt Nubis' presence. He thought, no wonder he's so powerful. He's only an inch away from the 15th star, he can easily become a renowned expert within the sea realm. The faces of the 4 emissaries twitched slightly. They naturally felt that even though Nubis was not a 15th star expert, he was not far from it. His strength was beyond what they could handle. However, they relaxed immediately when they saw the 2 old men beside them. They were elders of the Serpent God Hall. They were real 15th star experts, unlike Nubis. As long as they were present, the 3 people before them could not really do anything at all. Your strength has reached the very limit of the 14th star, only an inch away from the 15th, impressive, quite impressive. I believe reaching the 15th star is no problem for you as long as you have some time. The 2 of us are elders of the Serpent God Hall. I wonder if you have any interest in joining us. If you are indeed willing, I'll report it to the hall elders as soon as I return. I believe the hall elders would love the 2 of you to join, said a smiling elder who stood beside Yensen. He was called Sid, and since he came from the Serpent God Hall, he knew many more secret techniques than other saint kings. He could vaguely feel an extremely pure ruler's chi from Jian Chen and Nubis through a secret technique and presumed that they must have been the rulers of some clan. They possessed extremely great talent and had the chance of reaching the very peak of the 16th star. Experts of such a level would only be an inch away from becoming an emperor, so even the 3 halls needed to draw them to their side. You lot have traveled so far to find us. It shouldn't be about that, right? Jian Chen asked normally. The other old man, named Rains, also spoke out, correct. We've traveled so far to come looking for you, and it is indeed not because of that. However, if you are willing to join our Serpent God Hall, we'll be members of the same family in the future. Yensen immediately became worried when Elder Rains and Sid both spoke out attempting to recruit the 2 of them who he absolutely despised. He said, Elder, but the 2 of them are, we know what we're doing. You don't need to interfere. Yensen was cut off by Elder Rains before he could finish what he was saying. Elder Rains stared at Jian Chen and Nubis fixedly. You may be disappointed if you had wanted us to join the Serpent God Hall, replied Jian Chen. You don't want to join? Elder Rains' face darkened. Correct, replied Jian Chen as he stared straight at the elder. He felt no fear. Elder Sid said, whatever. Since the 2 of you don't want to join us, we won't force you to. A few days ago, you stole a few space rings from our 4 emissaries. I hope you can return them to us. We will not trouble you if you do so. Although that was what he said, killing intent flickered in the very depths of his eyes. He thought, the hall elder has told me that the existence of the item must be kept secret. It must not be known by anyone outside of the Serpent God Hall. Since you don't want to join, we need to eliminate you even if you possess the ruler's chi. We'll return them to you since you need them. Nubis tossed over 4 rings extremely casually. The 2 elders rejoiced secretly when they saw the 2 of them hand over the rings so straightforwardly. They each caught 2 rings and began to look through them. At this very moment, Jian Chen and Nubis suddenly moved against the 2 elders as they looked through the rings. It was like they had already planned this beforehand. Nubis' hands became dyed with a golden color. He did not hold back any of his strength, grabbing one of the old man's neck swiftly. Jian Chen wielded the dragon-slaying sword, which was now covered by a dark light. It radiated with an energy of destruction as it stabbed toward the other elder. He thrust it out with his full power, reaching the absolute limits of his speed. It was unbelievably fast. The sword seemed to cut through time and jump through space. It arrived before the elder's forehead in an instant. The two elders did not expect Jian Chen and newbies to actually move against them, as they were esteemed elders within the territory of the Serpent God Hall. A large portion of their concentration was focused on the space rings as they looked through them, so the attacks took them completely off guard. Newbie's hands mercilessly grabbed at Elder Sid's throat. The hand ripped through his throat, tearing off a great portion. It revealed a collapsed windpipe and some meridians. The sliver of poison on Newbie's hand quickly wormed its way into the elder's body, and his neck immediately began to give off a putrid odor. Jian Chen's sword stabbed into the center of Elder Rain's eyebrows with absolute precision. Just as it was about to reach his origin soul, Elder Rains grabbed the sword tightly with his wrinkled hands. It prevented the sword from advancing. Rains followed up with an explosive roar as he forcefully plucked the sword out from his forehead. To ambush us. You cannot be spared. Elder Rains became furious and gave out a deafening roar. His voice was filled with pain and rage. Although the sword had failed to injure his original soul, as there was still an inch of distance, it had deposited a powerful and odd energy in his head. It currently rampaged in his brain, bringing him great pain. Elder Rains immediately used his powerful origin soul to suppress the sliver of chaotic force in his head. His hand lashed out like a bolt of lightning toward Jian Chen's chest. Jian Chen used the illusory flash, turning into a blur. He instantly disappeared from Rain's range of sight and appeared once again behind him. He stabbed out 3 times with a blur-like sword. Vast, surging energy poured out of the elder's body, forming a piece of extremely tough armor to block Jian Chen's lightning-fast attacks. The sword struck Elder Rain's armor with destructive chaotic force. The first thrust caused it to crack, while the second thrust completely shattered it. The third thrust stabbed through Elder Rains like a hot knife through butter. It pierced through his body, and the tip of the sword appeared on the other end, covered in blood. At the same time, rampaging chaotic force surged through the sword and exploded within the elder's body. Arg! The elder produced a chilling howl. He lost control of his chest as the wild chaotic force had already ripped open a bowl-sized hole there. It obliterated his organs. Jian Chen did not pause. He knew that he could not give this elder the time to catch his breath, so his arm jolted violently. The sword stabbed out once again in the form of a black streak of light, directly going for the back of the elder's head. He wanted to gravely wound the elder's origin soul. I'm going to make you die right here. The elder cried out madly. The surrounding space froze suddenly, trapping Jian Chen and his sword as well. Jian Chen's heart sank as he thought, crap. He did not pause and immediately forced the chaotic force within him to surge out. It shattered the frozen space like glass. However, just as he broke free, a hand snaked toward him and struck him viciously in the chest. Spurt! The defense of the golden silk mail was broken through immediately. Jian Chen vomited a mouthful of blood as he flew backward like a meteorite. I'm going to obliterate you. The elders' faces twisted violently. The blood from his forehead wound dyed his entire face red. Combined with the huge gaping hole in his chest, he seemed like a demon from hell. He was horrifyingly hideous. He fused with the surrounding space and caught up to Jian Chen instantly by using spatial force. He mercilessly struck Jian Chen with a palm. Jian Chen vomited blood a few times. His chaotic body had already been broken through by the elder's attacks. He was now heavily injured. On the other side, newbies managed to heavily injure Elder Sid by catching him off guard with the surprise attack. He was currently chasing up with more attacks, before he suddenly saw that Jian Chen was in a tight spot. He immediately gave up on Elder Sid, going straight for Elder Rains and beginning a grand battle with him. They fought even-handedly in the air. A powerful killing intent appeared nearby. It was Elder Sid, who charged toward newbies with his bloody throat. Although he was heavily injured, he was still a Saint King. His life force was tenacious, so he still possessed an impressive ability for battle. "I'll block them. You leave immediately." Nubis battled the two Saint Kings all by himself as he yelled at Jian Chen. Although they were both heavily injured, Nubis struggled greatly as he was up against two of them. He used all the power he had in him, only shying from changing back into his true form. Elder Sid and Rains were only Saint Kings of the first heavenly layer, but as elders of the hall, they definitely possessed abilities that stood out. Their strength in battle was much greater than ordinary Saint Kings. Their true strength was close to the second heavenly layer despite their level of cultivation. A light flicked in Jian Chen's eyes. He hesitated slightly, before giving up on the idea of casting God's descent to kill off the two of them. He immediately began to flee. The price for the forbidden arte was just too great. Even if he managed to kill the two of them, even more powerful elders would come later on. Killing the two of them would not solve the problem at all. The item might be on him. Don't let him escape. The four emissaries who were watching on blankly finally returned to their senses. They all pursued Jian Chen, engaging in a battle with him. Jian Chen had taken a palm strike from a Saint King, so he was heavily injured. Even with the recovery abilities of his chaotic body, he was unable to heal temporarily. He immediately felt slightly pressured as he fought against 3/8 heavenly layer Saint Rulers and a 9th heavenly layer Saint Ruler, unable to break free from them temporarily. After all, Jian Chen did not possess a strength that could rival Saint Kings like Nubis. Chapter 884, Fleeing from the Serpent God Hall. Xia Wang's eyes flickered with hesitation when he saw Jian Chen painstakingly fight the others. They're emissaries and elders of the Serpent God Hall. My God, how did they provoke the people of the hall? What do I do? Just what do I do? Am I supposed to participate or not? Do I help them? Thought Xia Wang. He struggled to make a decision. This lasted for a while. In the end, Xia Wang gritted his teeth and thought, whatever. I only have a little over 100 years left anyway. I'll do it for the divine water, for the chance to successfully reach the 15th star. Xia Wang finally made his mind up with that thought. He immediately charged at the four emissaries and took on two of them for Jian Chen. Xia Wang, how dare you? You have provoked the Serpent God Hall. Are you tired of living? Yelled an emissary. I'm paying a big price by offending the people of the Serpent God Hall. They definitely will be hunting for me everywhere in the future. I can no longer enter the territory of the Serpent God Hall ever again. I'm helping you out, so you better get me the divine water within 50 years. I'll swear to hunt you both down if you don't, Xia Wang said to Jian Chen as he handled the attacks of the two emissaries. Don't worry. I will not go back on my words. I'll definitely give you the divine water within 50 years, replied Jian Chen. The pressure on him had greatly reduced now that Xia Wang took on the attacks of two emissaries for him. He immediately thrust out consecutively with a sword using his full strength. His attack carried a devastating aura. Even though Jian Chen was quite injured, dealing with 2/8 heavenly layer Saint Rulers was not a problem. The sword turned into countless blurs that enveloped the two of them. The blurs stacked upon one another, completely flooding the space. The two emissaries became stern. They moved their hands and weapons in a flurry, devoting all their efforts to blocking Jian Chen's attacks. The sounds of weapons colliding constantly rang out. Jian Chen's sword clashed ferociously with the emissaries' weapons mid-air and constantly produced a sound of screeching steel. It was deafening. Jian Chen's sword was just too fast. The power of a ruler armament was also extremely great, so every strike contained huge amounts of power. The two emissaries became covered in wounds after just a few seconds of resistance. One of them had their heart pierced, while the other had lost his left arm to Jian Chen's sword. They both produced a chilling howl, now incapacitated by their wounds. Fending off the two emissaries, Jian Chen immediately proceeded to assist Xia Wang. He worked with him to heavily injure the last two emissaries. He then left the area hurriedly as he pulled Xia Wang along. They disappeared very quickly. Nubis was also injured and he was now covered in blood. However, not only did this fail to lower his strength, it agitated the savage nature of his bloodline. He became more brutal as he fought, keeping the two Saint Kings busy all by himself. He even poisoned the two of them with his venom, forcing them to devote a portion of their strength to suppress it. This greatly decreased the amount of strength they could use. Elders, my ass. Is this all your strength? When I break through, I'll be able to kill you off with a flip of my hand. I'm not going to play around with you two anymore. Nubis opened his mouth and spat out a poisonous mist which engulfed the two Saint Kings. He quickly left the area, disappearing into the horizon in the blink of an eye. We can't let the escape. Let's pursue them. Jensen ignored his injuries. He wanted to chase the three of them. Don't chase them. Elder Rains waved his hand and stopped Jensen. He stared coldly in the direction where Nubis had fled and growled, Sid and I are currently poisoned. The venom's extremely potent, so we need to purge it as soon as possible. Otherwise, our lives will be in danger. The items are with them. We can't let them run far, but the antidotes we carry have no effects on the venom. We don't have the time to hurry back to the hall, so let's find a place immediately where we can suppress its spread. We can report this to the hall elders at the same time, Elder Sid said roughly. They would pass away very quickly if they did not suppress the spread of this poison. Within the Serpent God Hall, there were two types of elders, ordinary elders and hall elders. 15th star Sea Soul warriors could take up a role as an elder, but they needed to be at the peak of the 16th star to become a hall elder. Within the three halls, hall elders were only second to the hall master in terms of status and power. Elder Rains and Sid were only ordinary elders of the Serpent God Hall. The six of them were quite heavily injured and the two elders' injuries were particularly heavy. They needed to treat it immediately or they could lose their life. As a result, they did not continue their pursuit of Jian Chen's group and instead settled down somewhere nearby to treat their wounds. They suppressed the venom in their bodies and also reported this matter to the hall elders. The Serpent God Hall learned about this very quickly. Hall Elder Charlie was furious, so he immediately sent out two elders who were even stronger with more powerful antidotes to heal Elder Sid and Rains. At the same time, they were tasked with recovering the lost item. Although they were still in the 15th star, they were third heavenly layer Saint Kings when measured according to the system of the Tian Yuan continent. Jian Chen and Xia Wang fled far away very quickly. Currently, Jian Chen no longer paid any attention to his injuries and poured all his time into traveling. He wanted to avoid the experts of the Serpent God Hall from catching up. Not long afterward, Nubis also arrived from behind. He flew with Jian Chen and Xia Wang. He was pale-faced and in a horrible condition, constantly coughing up blood. He was heavily wounded. Jian Chen pulled out a large handful of Class 6 Radiant Spirit Pulls and handed them to Nubis. Eat these. They might not be able to heal you, but at least it can stabilize your injuries and stop them from worsening. Jian Chen did not want to reveal the secrets of the Saint artifact as Xia Wang was present. Nubis did not hold back, directly taking all the pills from Jian Chen's hand. He devoured them like candy. I really wonder if following you guys was the wrong choice. I didn't think I'd offend one of the three halls so quickly. The Serpent God Hall has supreme power in its territory. It can call on forces large and small, so we can't stay here any longer. We need to leave, grumbled Xia Wang. Jian Chen immediately pulled out his map and checked it. The Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory is the closest to us. We'll head over there immediately. The three of them moved toward the territory of the other hall, finally arriving at its border after 3 whole days. They were less than 10,000 kilometers from crossing over. In the 3 days, Jian Chen had made a full recovery thanks to the high regeneration speed of his chaotic body. Even Nubis had made a full recovery through vast amounts of radiant spirit pills, returning to his full strength. Jian Chen ignored any overexertion of his soul in the 3-day journey, and he kept his presence expanded to the maximum. He enveloped a radius of several thousand kilometers, carefully paying attention to the surroundings. They avoided any potential dangers. At that very moment, Jian Chen's expression changed slightly. He growled, "Crap, the experts of the Serpent God Hall have actually caught up. The people this time are even more powerful. We won't be able to put up any resistance. Let's go." "What? They've caught up again. Just how did they find us?" Nubi's expression changed too. Without any hesitation, he grabbed Jian Chen by the arm and charged forward. There was only another 10,000 kilometers before they were out of the Serpent God Hall's territory. Nubis fused with the surrounding space and used spatial force to travel. His speed increased by 3 or 4-fold and he disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Xia Wang was also of the 9th heavenly layer like Nubis, so he tailed closely behind. However, 2 Saint Kings behind them traveled even faster. Nubis could vaguely feel their vast presences just when they were 3,000 kilometers short from the border. Bloody hell. They're at least of the 3rd heavenly layer. If they catch us, we won't have the chance to escape at all. Nubis' expression changed greatly as he cried out. He immediately sped up some more, flying toward the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall with lightning speed. The distance between the 2 groups constantly reduced as the Saint Kings pursued. Jian Chen's group could clearly see the figures of the 2 experts now. There were less than 50 kilometers between them. You wounded the people of the Serpent God Hall. The Serpent God Hall will pursue you to the ends of the earth. You can't escape. Just give up. A thunderous voice boomed from behind them. It was from the 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall. Just give up. Do you think I'm an idiot? Nubis snarled as he retorted. He did not slow down and instead sped up. Finally, the 2 elders began to worry when the 3 of them were only 50 kilometers from the border. They struck out decisively and shot out a powerful blade chi together. It chopped toward Jian Chen's group with insane speed. This attack completely locked onto them. They could not dodge. "I'll block it," bellowed Jian Chen. Chaotic force surged wildly in his body, boosting his defense to its utmost maximum. Boom! The powerful attack directly struck Jian Chen's chest and turned his clothes into dust. It revealed the golden silk mail he wore inside, while his chest directly collapsed. His bones were utterly broken. If it were not for the silk mail, he probably would have been bisected by this attack. Spurt. Blood gushed wildly from Jian Chen's mouth. His organs had turned to smithereens after blocking the combined attack of the 2 Saint Kings. His injuries were worse than before. As this happened, Nubis and Xia Wang left the territory of the Serpent God Hall as they pulled Jian Chen with them. They crossed into the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, but they did not stop. They continued their way until they finally disappeared into the horizon. The 2 elders stopped at the edge of their territory. They stared unhappily at the 3 of them as they traveled away, however, they unwilling to take a step over the border. The 3 halls of the Sea Realm were extremely territorial. They refused to let any people of other halls enter their land without permission, so the 2 elders did not dare to cross the border rashly. The consequences would be extremely great. Chapter 885, Abyssal Crystal. We were too slow. We actually let them escape into the land of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Do we chase them or not? An elder said with a deep voice as they watched the group gradually grow further away. The other old man replied after some thought, "We can't trespass the Heaven's Spirit Hall's lands without permission, we better report this to the Hall Elder as soon as possible. We can only take action after discussing it with the Hall Elders and the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall." The 2 elders immediately reported the situation to the Hall Elders afterward. Charlie and Jensen's master Bai Yen immediately became stern when they learned that Jian Chen's group had fled into the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory. They frowned in concern. It'll be troublesome now. I hope that the Heaven's Spirit Hall doesn't find out about that item, otherwise, they'll want to take it. At the time, the hall master will need to head out himself, but if that happens, the two halls will definitely go to war with each other. The Sea Goddess Hall cannot find out either. If their hall master learns about it, she will definitely use the strength of her entire territory to destroy it. They cannot let the item exist, said Charlie. He was extremely grim. I can only hope that the people who've taken it don't know the secrets of the item and that the people of the Heaven's Spirit Hall don't know either. If that's the case, then there is still a chance for us to fix this problem. Jensen's master's eyes flickered with a wise light. He had many more ideas than Charlie. What idea do you have? Charlie immediately looked toward Bai Yen. We'll negotiate with the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall and send some people in the name of revenge. We need to get the item back, said Bai Yen. Charlie's eyes lit up. All right. I'll use a communication stone right now to contact them. Charlie and Bai Yen immediately used special equipment to contact the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They told them the story they had prepared earlier, and after some good-willed negotiation, they were permitted to send people into the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. At the same time, 3 hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall currently sat together in the very center of their hall. The Serpent God Hall wants to send experts into our territory to kill off their enemies. Odd. Why do I feel like it's not as simple as it seems, said an old man between the 3. I also have a similar feeling, the Serpent God Hall must be hiding something from us. Otherwise, why would their esteemed hall elders appear personally for a small matter like this? They could just send other experts instead. It does sound a little weird if you put it like that. They totally could have just sent experts from tribes who lived in their territory to pursue their enemies who fled to our land. Why do they have to send people of the Serpent God Hall? The 3 hall elders found it rather odd and suspicious. At that very moment, a blurry figure appeared out of nowhere high up in the empty throne. The entire hall was enveloped by a terrifying pressure with his appearance. The 3 hall elders were surprised and immediately became polite. They looked toward the blurry figure and bowed, speaking in unison, "We greet the hall master." I sensed a sliver of the abyssal crystal's presence. "Investigate it immediately," said the hall master. His voice was ordinary, but it was filled with an authoritative pressure. What? The abyssal crystal? The 3 hall elders all became stunned, revealing a slight expression of disbelief. The hall master's figure had already disappeared. He did not say anything else. He seemed to have appeared only to give this single command. The 3 hall elders all looked at each other, and only after a while did someone speak. I heard the abyssal crystal originates from the Sea of Despair. The frigid chi there is so great that even emperors struggle to cope with it. I didn't think there would actually be an emperor who would risk his life and venture in for an abyssal crystal. The abyssal crystal's a special type of crystal. No one knows how it's formed, but it has the ability of gathering the essence of water-attributed energy. It's a legendary treasure among us, but no one has ever come into possession of it. It's said that in the ancient times, the great sea goddess removed a giant piece of abyssal crystal from the Sea of Despair and carved out a supreme divine hall. However, after the sea goddess passed away from age, the divine hall was left floating about through the Sea of Despair. No one has ever found its exact whereabouts. There is a special connection between abyssal crystals. They say that if someone finds a crystal and uses a special technique to forge it, they can find the exact location of the sea goddess divine hall. Alright, let's not talk about this anymore. We should hurry up and carry out the hall master's command. Suddenly, a hall elder's face changed as he seemed to notice something. The business with the Serpent God Hall chasing a few people just happens to be fishy as well. Do you think this is related to the abyssal crystal? Do you think that the people who the Serpent God Hall are pursuing possess the abyssal crystal? The 3 hall elders all guessed this together, connecting the news of the abyssal crystal to Jian Chen's group. That's probably the case. Let's go organize some people immediately. It doesn't matter whether the crystal is with the people who the Serpent God Hall wants. We'll go check on it. If it really is that case, we need to obtain it before them. A mature, blue-robed lady who seemed to be in her 20s sat cross-legged in the air within a secret room. She was inside a huge palace within the territory of the Sea God Hall. She was dressed simply, but she was extremely pretty with a devastating appearance. She was like a fairy who had descended from heaven. Reporting to the hall master, Qing Yishuan has arrived, an old voice boomed from outside. Let her in. The woman moved her mouth and spoke with an enchanting voice. The door to the room slowly opened. The white-clothed Qing Yishuan walked in from outside. Her dashing face was slightly pale and some traces of darkness existed within the paleness. She clearly was still injured from the fight for the Octoterra map fragment and had not even purged the venom from her body completely yet. Qing Yishuan bowed courteously to the woman before her and said, Qing Yishuan greets the hall master. Qing Yishuan, go to the samsara pool and heal your wounds. After you're done, head out with Lei Batian immediately to the Heaven's Spirit Hall, the hall master said gently. Qing Yishuan revealed a sliver of excitement as soon as she heard she could go to the samsara pool. She would be able to heal her wounds in 2 days at the samsara pool. Even the poison that tortured her for so long could be purged completely. Qing Yishuan suppressed her excitement and asked curiously, may I ask why the hall master is asking me to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall? Once you make a complete recovery, you'll learn about the details of the mission from Lei Batian. You can go, the hall master replied gently. Her voice was emotionless. Yes. Qing Yishuan will be leaving then. Qing Yishuan bowed courteously once more before backing out. Although Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang managed to shake off the 2 Saint Kings, they did not relax at all. They continued their way into the depths of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory without any change in speed and constantly changed their directions as they traveled. Nubis carried Jian Chen on his back as he hurried along. Jian Chen was heavily injured, currently pushing all the power of the chaotic body to heal his wounds. They traveled for 4 hours before they finally saw a medium-sized city near the horizon. There is a city up ahead. There are many people in there, so it'll be perfect for covering our trail. Let's stop there for now and continue onward after your wounds have healed. Otherwise, if we get caught by people again in your current condition, it'll be problematic, said Nubis as a suggestion. They have no idea where we've run off to. We can hide in the city for some time. The experts of the Serpent God Hall are bound by the agreement of territorial boundaries. They won't dare cross over, added Xia Wang. Jian Chen pondered for a while. He knew that he was not in a suitable condition to continue traveling. Since it was safe now, he probably should heal as fast as he could. He needed to maintain his peak strength at all times, so he can handle any sudden changes to the situation. All right, let's go in, said Jian Chen. Afterwards, the 3 of them flew into the city. They descended in a well-hidden spot, then found a relatively obscure inn and settled down for the time being. Just when they had settled down, the 2 elders at the border between the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall received the hall elders' message and rejoiced. They did not worry anymore and directly passed through the boundary to the other hall's land in search of Jian Chen. There's still a slightly bloody smell in the air. This must be the path they ran off to. Follow me. One of the elders sniffed out the remaining smell of blood and immediately rushed off in the direction Jian Chen's group had fled. It was actually the exact same direction. The 2 elders stopped after traveling 10,000 kilometers. The old man with an extremely sensitive sense of smell sniffed the air once again and said, the smell of blood is getting thicker. Looks like they only passed through here not too long ago. We've almost caught up with them. Let's go. The 2 of them continued onward and grew closer and closer to the city where the Jian Chen's group had settled down. At this very moment, several vast presences appeared in the distance. A few figures shot by with great speed, charging directly for the two elders. The elders paid them no attention, continuing along the way by following the smell of blood. They treated these people as passers-by. "Warriors, please stop." Suddenly, a voice cried out from afar. The voice was thunderous, booming through the sky and reverberated through the region. The two elders paused and subconsciously came to a halt. They quietly watched the figure approach them from afar, without reacting greatly at all. Soon, the people stopped 20 meters from the two elders. There was a total of 4 people, 1 old man, and 3 middle-aged men. The old man was a saint king but only of the first heavenly layer, while the 3 middle-aged men were all saint rulers. The old man clasped his hands at the two elders and questioned, "Are you two elders of the Serpent God Hall?" "Correct. We are indeed elders of the Serpent God Hall." "Why have you stopped us?" asked an elder with suspicion. "Esteemed elders, the 4 of us are members of the nearby Chenyang tribe. We just received a message from the Hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They've invited the 2 of you to go pay a visit to the Heaven's Spirit Hall," said the old man with a smile. His tone was extremely polite. Chapter 886, Invitation of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. The 2 elders immediately felt a sliver of surprise when they heard that they had actually been invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as guests by the Hall elders. Although they were elders of the Serpent God Hall, it was only a status. They had no power as ordinary elders within the hall. Why would the great hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall invite them? They found this extremely shocking. However, the 2 elders frowned very quickly. One of them said, "Please relay this message to the esteemed hall elders. We are overwhelmed by your esteemed hall elders' invitation, but we currently have important matters to attend to. We just don't have the time right now. Why don't we pay a visit after the matters have been dealt with?" The old Saint King from the Chenyang tribe frowned slightly and said unhappily, "Elders, that may not be appropriate. Our hall elders are waiting to meet the 2 elders right now. Do the 2 elders just want to brush the esteemed hall elders aside and keep them waiting for you, or is it because you don't even acknowledge our hall elders?" The old man's voice became rather serious toward the end. He had received strict orders from the hall elders to invite the 2 elders to the hall no matter what. However, the Chenyang tribe did not have the strength to threaten them, so all he could do was mention the hall elders. The expressions of the 2 elders changed slightly. They immediately explained, "No, no, no, that's not what we meant. How would we dare keep the esteemed hall elders waiting for us? We're ecstatic over the fact that we've been invited by the hall elders. How is it possible for us to not acknowledge the hall elders?" The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall did not dare to offend the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Every single person who could become a hall elder was a terrifyingly powerful expert. They were all at the peak of the 16th star and only an inch away from the 17th. The old man of the Chenyang tribe smiled slyly and made a welcoming gesture to the pair. He said, "If that's the case, then let's go. The 4 of us will be guiding the 2 elders, to prevent any insignificant people from disturbing the 2 elders." The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall looked at each other and both sighed gently. They could only give up their chase of Jian Chen and fly toward the Heaven's Spirit Hall helplessly. The 2 of them did not dare to reject or ignore an invitation from the Heaven's Spirit Hall's hall elders. 2 saint rulers also arrived at the city where Jian Chen's group stayed as the 2 elders were invited to the Heaven's Spirit Hall by the people of the Chenyang tribe. They were of the 13th and 14th star, experts of 2 different nearby tribes. The 2 saint rulers floated 1,000 meters in the air as they looked down at the city. One of them said, "The location given by the hall elders is here. They probably erased their presences and have hidden themselves in the city. We're weaker than them, so it'll be extremely difficult for us to find them with our strength. Let's go pay a visit to the city lord's manor." The 2 saint rulers directly traveled to the city lord's manor, before disappearing into the large estate. Soon afterward, all the guards in the city set out, rifling through each and every household in a blanket search. The noise from below disturbed Jian Chen, who was currently healing in the inn they had settled down in. Jian Chen slowly opened his eyes and frowned slightly. He was stern. At this very moment, the door of the room was opened. Newbies and Xia Wang walked in. Jian Chen, there are quite a few guards conducting a search outside. Do you think they've come for us? Asked Newbies as soon as he entered the room. Jian Chen sat unmovingly on the bed and slowly nodded. That should be the case. They have indeed come for us. The Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall are searching for us. Newbie's expression changed slightly. What? The Hall Elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall? God damn it. They don't even know us, so why are they looking for us? Surely you haven't offended the Heaven Spirit Hall's Hall Elders as well, said Xia Wang as he stared at the two of them with suspicion. We have nothing to do with the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Perhaps they've come with the same intention as the Serpent God Hall since they're searching us so suddenly. Jian Chen said unhurriedly. He could not help but think about the mysterious key which shone with dazzling blue light in the Saint artifact. That's probably it. The Heaven's Spirit Hall really does have experts with great abilities. As soon as we entered their land, there has also been someone in search of us. Newbies became grim. They had just fled from the Serpent God Hall. He had thought that they would be safe from now on and he could find a place and cultivate without worry. Never did they think that more trouble would come knocking on the door before they could even rest properly after entering the Heaven's Spirit Hall's land. They were stuck in a troublesome situation once again. Open up for search. A rough voice boomed from outside. The door of the inn was kicked open and several soldiers in special, gray armor walked in. The three of them all looked toward the soldiers. The soldiers immediately felt their hearts tighten under the gazes of saint rulers despite the fact that they had just glanced at them. It was as if the air around them had turned into a vacuum, making breathing difficult. The leading captain forcefully maintained his cool and swept past the three of them with a fearful gaze. He said, "We've come under orders in search for some convicts. Warriors, apologies. We will be leaving." The captain of the squad did not dare to stay any longer. With a wave of his hand, he led his soldiers out of the room, before gently closing the door. Afterward, the captain immediately left the inn and shot toward the city lord's manor. Jian Chen slowly stood up in the inn and said, "Our exact location has been discovered. We're so unlucky. Why do I get into all this big trouble as soon as I start following you guys? Hunted down by the Serpent God Hall first and now the Heaven's Spirit Hall is looking for us everywhere. If I had known earlier, I would have never joined you in your suffering even if I couldn't reach the 15th star," grumbled Xia Wang to one side. His arms were crossed and he was filled with regret. Newbies looked toward the whining Xia Wang and sniggered, "It's a pity that you don't have a choice anymore. You've already offended the people of the Serpent God Hall. Pretty sure they won't let you off no matter what. Even if you hide in the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they'll have ways to claim your life. The only way you can survive is by sticking with us. Let's not talk about that for now. We need to leave. They've discovered us. We can't stay here any longer," said Xia Wang. He could no longer backtrack. Newbies was right. The Serpent God Hall would not let go of anyone who had become its enemy in order to maintain its dignity. Jian Chen opened the window and stared out at the lively street in interest. He said, "The Heaven's Spirit Hall's looking for us for no reason, so that definitely can't be good. We can't stay here anymore. We need to leave here immediately and go to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. We might be safer there. Are you sure that the people of the Sea Goddess Hall won't cause us trouble?" Xia Wang asked worriedly. Jian Chen hesitated. He could not help but think back to the words of the mysterious woman who had given him the water spirit's pearl. She had once told him that if he could not stay within the land of the Serpent God Hall, he could go to the Sea Goddess Hall instead, and that it would be safe there. I believe no one will look for trouble with us in the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall, murmured Jian Chen. He believed the mysterious woman would not harm them. All right. I hope that's the case. Let's leave immediately, Xia Wang said rather urgently. He really did not want to stay here for even a fraction of a second longer. Every extra moment spent here could lead to increased danger. At this very moment, two vast presences appeared from the direction of the city lord's manor. Two figures directly flew towards where Jian Chen's group stayed. They traveled very quickly, arriving at the entrance of the inn in just a few seconds. Afterwards, they turned into a blur and climbed up the stairs extremely quickly, appearing in the room where they stayed. They were two old men who seemed to be beyond their 60s. They both wore blue robes, while their blue hair was tied up into a bun. Their eyes were deep like the starry sky, making it very difficult to read anything from their eyes. I am Dahan. I greet the three warriors. I am Tanishq. I greet the three warriors as well. As soon as the two old men entered the room, they clasped their hands at Jian Chen's group and greeted them before they could even speak. They were extremely friendly. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang looked at each other. Afterwards, Jian Chen replied like he usually would, "May I ask why the two of you have suddenly come searching for us?" "Warriors, we are members of two different tribes from this region. Not long ago, we received a message from the esteemed hall elders. They want to invite you to pay a visit to their Heaven's Spirit Hall," smiled Tanishq. "Please tell your esteemed elders for me that the three of us have important matters to attend to, so we may not be able to visit. However, we will definitely visit in person and apologize in the future," said Jian Chen. Dahan and Tanishq revealed troubled expressions. One of them said, "Warrior, that may not be good. This is a personal invitation from the esteemed hall elders. How can you turn it down? Please relay my message exactly as I said it to the hall elders. The three of us still have matters to attend to, so we will be leaving first." Jian Chen left immediately with Nubis and Xia Wang after throwing that down. They gained the attention of the Heaven's Spirit Hall as soon as they had arrived. They could no longer stay there anymore. They needed to leave as fast as possible. This was because the people who invited them this time were only saint rulers. Next time, it might become saint kings, and when that happened, it would be difficult for them to leave even if they wanted to. Chapter 887, Rulers Chi, Warriors. It doesn't seem like a good idea to just brush aside an invitation from the esteemed hall elders, Dahan and Tanishq said with troubled expressions. Within the Heaven's Spirit Hall, being invited by the hall elders was a grand honor. It was indicative of someone's status. An invitation like that could make anyone wildly ecstatic. No one ever turned it down. Dahan and Tanishq felt rather shocked by how Jian Chen's group declined the invitation so straightforwardly. The two of them had never imagined such an outcome. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang paid no more attention to the two of them. They left the inn after paying off their fees for staying. They stayed no longer than a moment in the city, immediately leaving the city at top speed and traveling towards the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Dahan and Tanishq frowned greatly as they watched the group fly off. They had failed the hall elders' mission, so they could not just return like that. All they could do was watch on helpless as the three of them left. Their strength was insufficient to obstruct Jian Chen's group. What do we do now? How would we report it to the hall elders? Tanishq said grimly. Dahan sighed gently, let's just report it just as what happened. There's nothing else to say other than that. Dahan and Tanishq sent a message to the hall elders using a special tool of communication, reporting everything exactly as what had happened. 5 hall elders had already gathered in the huge floating hall in the center of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory. They had all received the command of the hall master to pour all their efforts into searching for the abyssal crystal, which was why they had all gathered together, currently discussing over the matter. Good. The 2 elders of the Serpent God Hall are already on their way to our hall. We'll be able to find the people they're pursuing before them that way. I'd like to see if our guess is right or not. We would have committed a great deed if the crystal really is with the three of them. The speaker was a well-mannered, middle-aged man. He wore long white robes and seemed refined and educated. He seemed like a scholar. The man was called Muhi. He was a hall elder of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, one of the experts only second to the hall master. The old man beside Muhi closed his eyes, before curling his lips into a slight sneer. I've just received a message. I sent some people to invite the three of them, but not only did they turn it down, they even ran off. They don't even want to come near us. Looks like the three of them really are fishy. Let's send elders across if that's the case. We need to get them to stay, Muhi said calmly. I've already sent 2 elders. However, the problem's the distance. It'll take some time for them to travel, so all we can do is wait patiently right now. I'm sure there will be good news soon. Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang flew as fast as they could. Jian Chen's wounds had already been silently healed by a strand of his Radiant Saint Force origin energy, allowing him to make a full recovery. He was back in peak condition. Jian Chen knew that both the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall possessed supreme secret techniques that could find their whereabouts. Erasing their presence was useless, and even hiding in the Saint artifact would not work. This was why they not bother with concealing themselves at all, flying over countless tribes of different sizes as they radiated with their huge presence. They went straight for the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. Every tribe and clan in the Sea Realm was fiercely territorial. It was forbidden for anyone to fly their territory without their permission, or it would be taken as an open provocation that would rarely be dismissed so easily. As a result, the trio ended up offending many tribes and clans as they flew. However, most of them were powerful. They immediately shut up and turned a blind eye as soon as they sensed that the 3 of them all radiated with peak 14th star presences. They did not follow up on their rude actions. However, not all of them feared the trio. With a long whistling of wind, an old man immediately shot into the sky with a grand presence when they flew through the space of a large organization. He chased the 3 of them furiously. How dare you little brats! How dare you trespass on my Shenhua clan! You completely look down on us. Stay behind and name yourselves. Or I'll have to take some actions against you all. The ancestor of the Shenhua clan roared. He fused with the surrounding space to chase them through the use of spatial force, reaching a speed several times greater than the 3 of them. The Shenhua clan was one of the strongest clans in the radius of hundreds of thousand kilometers. They were equivalent to an ancient clan on the Tian Yuan continent. They were renowned as they possessed a Saint King. It's a 15th star Sea Soul warrior. Xia Wang's complexion changed when he sensed the presence of the old man from behind. The 3 of them knew that they could not outrun Saint Kings, so they all stopped. Nubis stared at the old man as he flew over with a sunken face and swore, "You dare to act so arrogantly just because you're a puny first heavenly layer Saint King? Allow grandfather Nubis to teach you a solid lesson." Nubis' battle intent skyrocketed, charging towards the old man with an unstoppable force. The ancestor of the Shenhua clan thought that they had been stunned by the fact that he was a 15th star Sea Soul warrior when he saw them stop. He rejoiced secretly, but just as he was about to reprimand them, he saw Nubis charging over ferociously. A cold light flashed across his eyes and he sneered, "Come at me, you ignorant brat. You would actually challenge a 15th star Sea Soul warrior when you're only at the peak of the 14th. I'll show you the power of a 15th star Sea Soul warrior." The old man hurled a punch towards Nubis as he said that. Nubis did not fear him. His fist immediately became golden, directly colliding with the old man's punch with a powerful energy. Boom! The collision of their fists almost shattered the surrounding space, causing it to tremble violently. The residual energy splayed downwards, causing the earth to shake. The vegetation below turned to dust from the powerful energy. The 2 of them stood unmovingly after the punch. They floated steadily, before clashing ferociously once again. I've underestimated you. I didn't think that you'd possess the strength that rivals a 15th star sea soul warrior despite only being at the peak of the 14th star, bellowed the old man. Afterwards, he used his thought to freeze the surrounding space, trapped Nubis within it. Nubis spat out a breath of venomous gas which engulfed the old man, before swinging his two hands as claws, shattering the frozen space. Caught off guard, the old man inhaled a breath of the poisonous gas. His expression changed immediately. The venom of the silver-striped golden snakes was extremely potent, so even when he was a Saint King, he experienced a moment of lightheadedness. In just a mere moment, Nubis' claws raked across the old man's chest with lightning speed, leaving behind a dozen or so wounds. The wounds darkened as black blood flowed out. They had been contaminated by the venom in Nubis' hands. The ancestor of the Shunyue clan gave out a howl. His expression finally changed. He stared at Nubis in dread. Never did he think that he would be injured by a mere 14th star sea soul warrior, and that the injuries would be so heavy. Leave. My clan won't dwell on the matter of you intruding our territory, shouted the ancestor. He immediately lost interest in the battle and flew backwards. Nubis licked the blood on his hands. The sharp smell had awakened the viciousness of magical beasts hidden in his blood. He sneered, I've yet to kill a Saint King myself. Since you can looking for it yourself, become the first Saint King will fall in the hands of the great Nubis. From afar, Jian Chen's expression changed abruptly at this very moment. He yelled out, Nubis, let's go. They're already catching up. We can't drag it out any longer. Nubis also changed slightly in expression when he heard that. He ignored the ancestor of the Shunyue and immediately continued on his way to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall with Jian Chen and Xia Wang. The three of them fled for another hour before finally being caught up by the experts of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, stopping them in their tracks. The Heaven's Spirit Hall had only sent 2 elders, but they were both of the 3rd heavenly layer. They were extremely powerful where even Nubis would not be able to deal with them. The 2 elders did not attack immediately. Instead, they observed the 3 of them, before narrowing their eyes and they exclaiming, Ruler's Chi. It's the Ruler's Chi. It's actually on them. Ruler's Chi normally only appeared on the rulers of certain clans. Not only did they represent the leaders of a clan, it was an indication of their status and an embodiment of their strength. Among the sea race, these rulers were akin to beasts of antiquity among magical beasts. Like the silver-striped gold snakes, they were extremely rare and had great potential for growth. Their strength was also shocking, much greater than people of the same level. However, the ruler's chi could only be seen through the secret techniques of the 3 halls other than by members of the same clan. Other people could not sense it at all. We actually found 2 people with the ruler's chi in one go. The 2 elders were filled with joy. They knew extremely well that people with the ruler's chi would definitely become as strong as hall elders, or even reach a higher level, like an emperor. This was because the 3 emperors currently present among the sea race all possessed the ruler's chi of a certain clan. Chapter 888, God's Descent slays Saint Kings. No wonder the esteemed hall elders sent the 2 of us to invite these mere 14th star sea soul warriors as guests. So they possess the rare ruler's chi. A similar thought appeared in both of the elders' heads at this moment. Their gazes toward Jian Chen and Nubis also became much softer. They now believed that the hall elders had invited Jian Chen's group to the Heaven Spirit Hall to get them to join them and had sent the 2 of them to express the hall's sincerity. After all, only by sending 15th star experts could the Heaven's Spirit Hall express their sincerity in inviting those who possessed the ruler's chi. Esteemed rulers, our hall elders have invited you as guests. I hope you can return with us, an elder said to Jian Chen and Nubis with clasped hands. His old face was full of smiles, only looking at Jian Chen and Nubis without even glancing at Xia Wang. The 3 of them looked at each other sternly. Nubis asked Jian Chen through a mental message, What do we do, Jian Chen? We can't go to the Heaven Spirit Hall. Kill them. Jian Chen replied with a similar mental message as killing intent flashed through his eyes. Nubi's eyes became remorseless and he no longer hesitated. Powerful battle intent surged from his chest, targeting the two Saint Kings from the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Nubis could not match any of them in a battle, but all he needed to do was keep them busy temporarily. At the same time, Jian Chen quickly flew backward. He immediately retreated several hundred meters, before forming a seal with his hand. He lifted his head up high and pointed it at the sky. He bellowed, "God's descent." Jian Chen and Nubis did not even have the ability to run away before two-third heavenly layer Saint Kings. The only way out was casting the forbidden arte. "Rulers, what do you intend to do?" The two elders were filled with confusion against Nubis' attacks. They only blocked without retaliating. They had no inkling about the abyssal crystal. All they thought was that the hall elders wanted to pull these two people to the Heaven's Spirit Hall as they possessed the ruler's chi. As such, the elders did not dare to go overboard with them, just in case they shot through the ranks and used the two of them to make an example. At this very moment, the light in the surroundings glowed brighter. A milky white ball of light suddenly appeared in the sky and quickly passed through the seawater toward them. It turned the sea world that was always deep blue to a snow-white color. What's that?" The two elders raised their head as expressions of disbelief flooded their faces. Even on the Tianyuan continent, it was rare for someone to have seen the charging up period of the god's descent, let alone the sea race who dwelled in the sea realm. Even as Saint Kings, they had never heard of the arte. With Nubis keeping them busy, Jian Chen completely charged up the arte. His hand seals changed once more and he muttered, "I offer 500 years of my life to cast the forbidden technique, God's descent." The milky white light in the sky suddenly exploded after Jian Chen finished this sentence. It flooded the entire region with light, illuminating a large portion of the sea realm. Shortly afterward, a huge pillar of white light descended from the sky and encased a radius of several dozen kilometers. The original laws of the world were disrupted in the region encased by the light. A new set of laws were formed and their mysteries clearly appeared in Jian Chen's head. It allowed him to control everything in here like his limbs. At this moment, Jian Chen seemed to have become the supreme ruler of this space, a great god of the region. Regardless of Nubis, Xia Wang or the elders from the Heaven's Spirit Hall, all of them felt that they had lost all their abilities as saint rulers or saint kings now. They could no longer control world force or the mysteries of space. Where is this place? What did you do?" growled an elder. The two of them felt that something was off for the situation to develop like this. However, they just could not understand why the two people with the ruler's chi would want to be their enemies. Jian Chen said nothing. He knew that he wanted to leave the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, so he needed to eliminate the two Saint Kings before him. Otherwise, no one could guarantee that the two of them would not forcefully take them back. Jian Chen's mind fused with the surroundings perfectly. He controlled the laws with his thoughts. Extending a finger, the space before him undulated like water, two ripples immediately shot toward the two Saint Kings. "They want to kill us," cried out both elders. They could no longer afford to pay any attention to Jian Chen and Nubi's statuses as rulers when their life was under threat, so they both pulled out their weapons in resistance. Both of their weapons were the same type of trident. They swung their tridents wildly, shooting out two crescent-like waves of energy to fend off the incoming ripples. These ripples were formed from the energy of the laws of this world. They directly consumed the two waves of energy and quickly pierced through the chests of two elders. Silently, their chests were corroded to reveal a bowl-sized hole. The wounds from the laws of the world did not bleed, but they could not heal either. The two elders both groaned in pain as they looked at Jian Chen in shock. They felt that he had become exceedingly terrifying at this very moment. "We can't stay here. We need to leave immediately," growled an elder. Afterward, he fell back decisively. The other elder did not hesitate either, heading off in another direction. "Unless you break through this domain, you won't be able to leave without my permission." Jian Chen's cold voice was heard by the two elders. We never provoked you. Why do you want to kill us? An elder asked loudly. You already provoked us the moment you asked us to go to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. I know that if we said we wouldn't, you would forcefully take us there. The two of them heard Jian Chen's illusionary voice. The two elders shut up with that because they indeed had planned it like that. The hall elders' orders were that they had to bring the three of them back. If they failed with words, they could only forcefully take them away in order to complete the mission. It was just that the trio's reaction speeds completely exceeded their expectation. Jian Chen's eyes immediately became remorseless when he saw their expressions. Killing intent rose up in his heart as he murmured, "Annihilate." The clothes of the two-third heavenly layer Saint Kings instantly dissolved. It scattered into dust, before completely disappearing. Shortly afterward, their flesh began to split. It cracked like pottery and quickly spread out. These cracks soon covered every inch of their bodies. Fresh blood flowed, dyeing them red all over. The agony caused the two of them to howl uncontrollably. Vast quantities of energy leaked from their body and formed a layer of armor on their bodies to resist the invasion of the mysterious power. God damn it, what the hell is this thing? We can't stay here. We need to leave. The thought of retreat crossed the elders' minds after experiencing the odd domain and the weird energy. They no longer dared to stick around any longer and speeded up their escape. Jian Chen did not let them go. With the point of a finger, another two ripples of space formed from the laws of the region. The ripples shot toward the pair with lightning speed. Just as they wanted to dodge it, the surrounding space froze suddenly, solidly immobilizing them. Spurt. The power of the laws directly passed through the center of their eyebrows and injured their origin souls. The elders experienced agonizing pain as their origin souls were injured. They uncontrollably produced a chilling howl and their voices were filled with pain. Still not dead. Jian Chen was bathed in a bright white light. He was like a god who had descended, a consecrated existence. With a slight gesture of his right hand, another two waves of power shot over, piercing their souls once again. The two elders clutched their heads as they tossed and turned around painfully on the ground. The souls of Saint Kings were extremely powerful. Even after taking two heavy blows, their souls had not vanished. However, they had become extremely weak nonetheless. At this moment, two huge palms condensed immediately above them. They fell like bolts of lightning, brutally crushing the elders' heads. The two elders stopped howling. Their heads had shattered and they were bleeding from all 7 orifices. Their eyes also quickly became lifeless. The palm strikes had dispersed their heavily injured origin souls, wiping them out directly. This was how two-third heavenly layer Saint Kings died to Jian Chen's god's descent. Jian Chen stopped the technique with their deaths. The milky white light that radiated the surroundings slowly dispersed and everything returned to its previous state. However, Jian Chen's face had already become drained of blood. It was extremely difficult for him to resist an instantaneous loss of 500 years of life. He became extremely weak, void of all power. He even struggled to move a finger. He then collapsed from midair. Nubis appeared beside him with a flash and caught his falling body. He stared at Jian Chen sternly and said, "You've lost another 500 years of life. Combined with last time, you've lost a total of 1,000. Jian Chen revealed a smile. "It's not a problem. As long as we finished off the two of them, losing a bit of life is nothing. When I make another breakthrough, I'll just get another 3,000 years of life. Though, it's quite fortunate that none of the two could use a saint-tier battle skill. Otherwise, killing them would not have been so easy. Let's not talk about this for now. We need to flee. I'm sure that more experts will catch up from the Heaven's Spirit Hall without much time," Nubis said sternly. Afterward, he arrived before the two corpses of the elders and took away their space rings with a wave of his hand. He proceeded to leave with Jian Chen on his back. Xia Wang, what are you staring idiotically for? Hurry up, Nubis did not forget to remind him as he walked past Xia Wang. Xia Wang jolted, finally returning to his senses. He stared at the corpses of the two elders, clearly still shaken. The shock in his heart had reached an absolute maximum. He could say nothing. Never did he think that Jian Chen, who was weaker than Nubis, possessed such a terrifying ability. He had not imagined that Jian Chen could kill off two 15th star experts all by himself in such a short time. This astounded him. The 5 hall elders sat patiently in the huge hall at the center of the region, waiting for news. At that moment, an elder stood up abruptly and cried out involuntarily, "Crap, the 2 elders I sent have been killed." Chapter 889, Movements of the 3 Halls, What did you say, Luo Fu? The 2 elders have been killed. How is that possible? Who dares to kill the elders of our Heaven's Spirit Hall? Was it the Serpent God Hall? The hall elders all stood up, each and every one of them furious. The deaths of 2 15th star elders was a heavy loss to the Heaven's Spirit Hall. After all, there just were not that many 15th star experts compared to the 14th star. Every single one of them made up the central power of the hall. As a result, even just the loss of one would be painful. Hall Elder Luo Fu shook his head. The residual soul I left on them has vanished. Through the soul, it seems that the 2 of them died to the 3 people hunted down by the Serpent God Hall. How's that possible? They actually killed 2 15th star elders with their strength as 14th star Sea Soul warriors. Just how did they do it? Do they all possess Tian level saint techniques? A hall elder cried out involuntarily. He was filled with disbelief. I also have no idea how they did it, but before the 2 of them died, I felt their souls disappear for some time as if they had vanished into another space. When I could feel their souls again, the 2 of them were already dead. I think the 3 of them must have used a method that we do not know of to kill the elders, Luo Fu said with a deep voice. If 15th star elders can't bring them back, then we'll send some 16th star elders. By the order of the 5 great hall elders, send the 3 disciplinary elders together. That should be enough to bring the 3 of them back, ordered Muhi. The 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall were all famed experts and saint kings of the 5th heavenly layer. Probably only the 10 protector clans and mercenary city had the power to send out 3 5th heavenly layer experts at once on the Tian Yuan continent. However, none of them had enough saint kings to rival any of the halls of the sea realm. This was because the sea race itself was stronger than the humans of the Tian Yuan continent. They just had more people, whether it be saint rulers or saint kings. Also, there were only 3 peak-level existences in the sea realm. Almost all the experts gathered in those 3 organizations. The Tian Yuan continent had a total of 11. However, even if they were matched accordingly, even 4 protector clans would fail to rival any one of the halls. At the same time, Charlie and Bai Yen sat there in the Serpent God Hall with ugly expressions. They had also received messages from the 2 elders they had sent and knew about their current situation. Why have the hall elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall invited 2 of our ordinary elders as guests out of the blue? Perhaps they've discovered the secret about the abyssal crystal and hence purposefully wanted to get in the way of our 2 elders? Bai Yen said with a deep voice. His face was sunken. That's very possible. The matter of the abyssal crystal is extremely significant. Do you think we should call on the other hall elders and discuss this matter together? Charlie was stern. Not now. We've never gotten along with them. If they learn that we've committed a huge mistake, I worry that they'll just take advantage of the situation just to trouble us. They just happen to be in secluded cultivation right now, so we're the 2 most authoritative members of the hall. There are still chances for us to amend this situation. I'll send out the 4 divine generals immediately, Bai Yen said. The 4 divine generals consisted of 4 people at the 5th heavenly layer, all 16th star Sea Soul warriors. Meanwhile, The white-clothed Qing Yishuan had just left the sea goddess hall all energized. Thanks to the samsara pool, she had recovered completely from her wounds. Even Nubi's nasty poison was completely purged. Qing Yishuan passed through the hall with familiarity as she held a medallion. Along the way, she would see emissaries from time to time. They all looked at her with a sliver of respect, the respect felt toward an expert. Although Qing Yishuan was a human, she had already lived in the sea realm for many years. She had been here ever since she was a saint ruler and stayed there since. She eventually reached her current level of cultivation and became one of the 8 great human experts of the sea realm. She also maintained a decent relationship with the sea goddess hall and it supported her from behind. Now, Qing Yishuan had already become like a member of the hall. Although she never joined them officially, she did many things for the hall so she was equivalent to one. Qing Yishuan passed through the many hallways and palaces before coming to an ordinary-looking side hall. 3 people sat close-eyed inside it as if they were waiting for something. One of the 3 was a middle-aged man. He seemed to be around 40 years of age and wore tight black robes. He had strong facial features and was covered with black facial hair. He was very burly with a broad chest and tan skin. He seemed like a black bear. The other 2 people were white-robed elders. They were ruddy and sage-like, similar to immortals. They gave off a feeling as if they had already transcended worldly affairs. The 2 old men were the same people who had helped out Qing Yishuan when she went to steal the Octaterra map fragment. They helped her earn some precious time to flee. As soon as Qing Yishuan entered the hall, the 3 people opened their eyes in unison. They all looked at her. She walked into the center of the hall and stopped, gazing uncaringly toward the burly middle-aged man. She said, "Lei Batian, the hall master has sent me to find you to go to the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. What's the mission this time?" Lei Batian was one of the 5 renowned magical beast experts among the sea race. He was of the 6th heavenly layer and his original form was a mutated black bear. He was extremely powerful, only second to beasts of antiquity. Lei Batian stood up and murmured, "The hall masters sent us to the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory to bring back a few people safely. Since we're all here now, we can set off." Lei Batian, just who are these people to have the hall master personally order us to bring them back? One of the old men asked. He was also one of the 8 great human experts, Mo Ziran. The other great human expert, O Yun, also looked toward Lei Batian after what Mo Ziran said. He was obviously curious about the identities of their targets. Lei Batian shook his head. "Don't ask me, I don't know who they are either. The hall master has just given me the method to search for them. If you want to know just who they are, you'll discover that when you find them. My injuries have just been healed. Once the mission is complete, I won't be returning with you. I have other important matters to attend to in the territory of the Serpent God Hall," Qing Yishuan said icily. Her face was frozen like frost. Lei Batian could not help but become curious when he saw how sullen Qing Yishuan was. He asked with a muffled voice, "Qing Yishuan, why do I feel like you're a completely different person? Just what has happened?" Mo Ziran and O Yun could not help but smile when they heard this. Mo Ziran chuckled. "Looks like you don't know about it. A few days ago, when Qing Yishuan went to steal the Octaterra map fragment, she finally succeeded after putting in a tremendous amount of effort. But at the very end, 2 brats appeared out of nowhere and ambushed her. They also took away her map fragment. They were only saint rulers." "Oh, something like that happened? Those 2 brats sure are brave to steal something from one of the 8 great human experts." Lei Batian's face revealed some curiosity as the corner of his lips curled up vaguely. He thought, no wonder Qing Yishuan was so sunken-faced. A 5th heavenly layer saint king actually had her stuff stolen by 2 puny saint rulers. That sure is a big embarrassment. Lei Batian, Mo Ziran, and O Yun only knew that the 2 juniors had taken the map fragment. No one knew how they would react if they found out that the juniors had taken more than just that and had taken an undergarment of hers as well. Qing Yishuan's face became even darker as she heard the discussions of the three of them. She clenched her fist tightly as great rage and killing intent burned in her eyes. She gritted her teeth. I will definitely find the two of them and personally obliterate them. Only that can free me from my hatred. Lei Batian sniggered, go find them after you finish the mission from the Hall Master. Alright, since everyone's here, we should head out. Afterward, the four of them left the Sea Goddess Hall, heading straight for the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. Although the four of them helped out the Sea Goddess Hall with matters, they were not official members of the hall. As a result, they could move around through the three territories at will. Access to the three major regions of the Sea Realm was only restricted for members of halls. Other people, such as people of clans, tribes, or people completely unconnected to any organization were not bound by this agreement. In the territory of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang continued to flee as their lives depended on it. Although they killed 2 Saint Kings of the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they knew that the problems were far from over. Instead, the situation had become even more severe because their incoming enemies would only become stronger and stronger. The three of them traveled straight for the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. As they traveled, Jian Chen expanded his presence from time to time, surveying the surroundings and checking on the power of the tribes while they flew past. In order to save time, they would fly over small tribes without any worry, taking the quickest route to a safe haven. However, once they came across a large tribe with Saint Kings present, they would avoid it from afar and detour around it. They wanted to avoid provoking any more unwanted trouble on the way as that would take up time. Chapter 890, A Chaotic Battle, 1. After 2 days of traveling, the three of them had already traversed several hundreds of thousands of kilometers. They were now at the edge of the Heaven's Spirit Hall's territory, only a little over 200,000 kilometers from the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall. This was all because of the speed at which Nubis and Xia Wang traveled at using spatial force with their cultivation of the 9th heavenly layer. If it was only Jian Chen, he probably would have only been able to travel a third of that distance. There's another half a day before we enter the Sea Goddess Hall's territory. We'll be safe then and we won't have to worry about experts pursuing us, Nubis said as he hurried along. He constantly looked backward as a sliver of seriousness flashed through his eyes. Several saint rulers tailed the three of them closely. They were all of the 8th and 9th heavenly layer and belonged to different tribes. The three of them flew over many tribes recklessly, which was a type of straightforward provocation. As a result, it caused quite a few experts who were confident in their strengths to chase after them. They wanted an explanation from the trio and to make up for the challenge to their dignity. They paid no attention to the people who tailed them closely as they just did not have the time to deal with them. Getting to the territory of the Sea Goddess Hall as soon as possible was the most urgent matter. 3 vast presences quickly expanded from behind at this very moment. 3 elders shot toward the trio like bolts of lightning. The 3 disciplinary elders had almost caught up with Jian Chen's group. None of them possessed the power to escape the pursuit of 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings. As a result, they were stopped very soon. All 3 disciplinary elders were rather old. They wore black robes and were stern. A vast presence coiled around them and even the surroundings trembled. They were extremely terrifying. The saint rulers from various tribes also drew closer. They all looked at the 3 old men and jumped in fright from their auras. They all knew that these 3 old men had reached a terrifying level of strength. However, their expressions changed when they saw the red, lock-like badge on their chests. They immediately bowed toward them and said, "We greet the disciplinary elders." The disciplinary elders stared fixedly at Jian Chen and Nubis while a wondrous light flickered in their eyes. One of them waved a hand at the saint rulers who had chased the trio and said, "You have no business here. You can leave." Yes, disciplinary elders. The saint rulers from the various tribes did not dare to disobey them. They bowed once again, before backing off to a distance. However, they did not leave and instead watched on from over 10 kilometers away. They wanted to see just what would happen here that required 3 disciplinary elders to move out together. The light in Jian Chen's eyes flickered. Just from their presences, he already knew that the 3 disciplinary elders were not any weaker than Ling Yuanzi from the Yuan sect and Bai Yifei who he had encountered outside. They were much more powerful than the 2 elders who had died to his forbidden arte. Looks like I can only cast it again. If I offer up 1,000 years of my life, it should be enough to slaughter the 3 of them, thought Jian Chen as a light in his eyes flickered. The only way he could flee successfully from here was by casting the arte since matters had developed in such a way. He had killed 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall before, so there was already enmity between him and the hall. It would be difficult to resolve this peacefully. However, the price of 1,000 years was just too great. It made Jian Chen hesitate. He had already coughed up 1,000 years of life the last 2 times he cast the arte. If he coughed up another 1,000 years, it would be 2,000 in total. He would be left with less than 1,000 years to live. Ruler's Qi. The 2 of them actually have ruler's Qi. The disciplinary elders constantly shifted their gazes between Jian Chen and newbies while their faces were filled with surprise. Were the 2 elders both killed by you people? An elder asked the 3 of them after a while. Correct. They were indeed killed by us. You must have come to avenge them. Jian Chen replied normally. He had already made the preparations to cast God's descent at any time. The 3 disciplinary elders shook their heads gently. One of them said, "We won't trouble you. The hall elders only want to see you, so please come with us. If you're willing to join us, I believe the hall elders won't dwell on you killing the 2 elders." The 3 disciplinary elders appeared before Jian Chen and the other 2 after that. They did not wait for their reply and moved against them straightforwardly. Matching 1 disciplinary elder to each person, they directly extended their hands out to grab them. A sliver of determination flashed through Jian Chen's eyes. He immediately formed a seal with his hands, raising his head high above. He was about to cast the forbidden arte. However, Jian Chen's eyes narrowed at this crucial moment. The corners of his lips curled into a slight sneer and he stopped his casting of the arte. Another 4 tremendous presences quickly expanded from the surroundings. With 4 loud whistles of wind, 4 figures approached the area with unbelievable speed. They were at the horizon but in the next moment, they had already stopped before the 3 disciplinary elders. They maintained a distance of 20 meters. There were 2 middle-aged men and 2 old men. They all had vivid serpents embroidered on their blue robes. The serpent's eyes were red and it seemed viciously terrifying. It revealed its sharp teeth which shone with a cold light. It was enough to make people shiver. The appearance of these 4 caused the expressions of the 3 disciplinary elders to change suddenly. One of them immediately shouted out, "For divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, you're members of a different hall. You dare to trespass through the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall." The 3 disciplinary elders were clearly extremely fearful of the 4 divine generals. "Our hall elders have already told your Heaven's Spirit Hall. We have come in pursuit of our enemies, so we can enter your territory," a divine general said with a normal tone. Afterward, he looked at the 3 people in the hands of the disciplinary elders and said, "They're the enemies. I hope the 3 of you can hand them over. Once we complete our mission, we will leave your territory immediately." "No. The 3 of them recently killed 2 elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. They're criminals of the Heaven's Spirit Hall. We have come under the Hall Elders' command to take them back so that the Hall Elders can punish them. We will never hand them over to you," a disciplinary elder growled back. He did not step down. "We will be taking the people." The 4 divine generals replied. A powerful aura began to radiate from the 4 of them, clearly expressing their will to fight. "We can only fight if that's the case." The 3 disciplinary elders refused to appear weak. Battle intent surged from them. They then threw Jian Chen, newbies, and Xia Wang to one side in unison. They all drew their weapons and started a battle with the 4 divine generals. The battle between 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings was extremely impressive. As soon as they clashed, a terrifying residual energy exploded and wreaked havoc everywhere. It enveloped a radius of several dozen kilometers. Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang were immediately affected by these wild ripples of energy. They were knocked far away, while the fragile-bodied Xia Wang immediately became rather pale. He had been injured by the residual ripples of energy. Although Jian Chen was weaker than Xia Wang, his body was much tougher. The powerful ripples from the battle struck his chest like huge boulders. However, all it did was shake him a little without much effect. On the other hand, Nubis was unharmed. As he was only an inch away from becoming a Saint King and his strength was close to that of a second heavenly layer Saint Kings, the residual energy from a battle between 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings failed to harm him. The various saint rulers that had followed Jian Chen's group here did not have it as easy as Jian Chen as they watched on from 10 kilometers away. A few 9th heavenly layer saint rulers backed away pale-faced, while the other 8th heavenly layer experts already had a trail of blood at the corner of their lips. Their injuries were even worse. The region where the disciplinary elders and divine generals fought became flooded with wild energy. The space there distorted violently, forming a blurry mess. It enveloped them. "What are you standing around for? Let's go." Nubis immediately shot off as he pulled Jian Chen and Xia Wang along. The battle between the Saint Kings was extremely fascinating, but they just did not have the liberty to admire it. "I really am unlucky this time. I'm done for. I've managed to offend both the Heaven's Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall at the same time. If the Sea Goddess Hall gets offended as well, there won't be anywhere left for me in the vast sea realm. Following you was definitely the most stupid choice I've ever made." Xia Wang swore angrily. He felt like he had been treated extremely unfairly. He was met with the pursuit of the Serpent God Hall as soon as he was enticed to follow Jian Chen for the divine water of the world. He managed to flee to the land of the Heaven's Spirit Hall after so much difficulty, yet he was met with the pursuit of the Heaven's Spirit Hall instead before he even had the moment to rest his feet. He even ended up provoking the 3 renowned disciplinary elders and the 4 famed divine generals. Just as they had fled 100 kilometers away, a divine general charged out of the region of battle and headed straight for them. "We can't let them be taken," yelled a disciplinary elder. He too abandoned his opponent and charged out of the battle, following the divine general. "I'm your opponent. Stay behind." The divine generals had an advantage in numbers. One of them immediately caught up with the disciplinary elder, sticking to him like a leech and keeping him busy. The disciplinary elder was currently busy with the divine general. He could not help but panic as he watched the divine general grow closer and closer to Jian Chen. He knew that once the 3 of them were taken away, they would not be able to complete their mission as they would be busy with the 3 other divine generals. A sliver of cold light flashed across the disciplinary elder's eyes as he thought up to there. He immediately cried out, "9 palms of overlapping waves." The 9 palms of the overlapping waves was a saint technique he had created himself. It was much more powerful than Heaven tier battle skills, reaching the level of pseudo-saint tier battle skills. The disciplinary elder struck out with 9 palm strikes. The 9 palms stacked on one another, becoming more powerful with each coming strike. The last palm strike was especially powerful, basically possessing the combined force of the 8 previous strikes. It had an even greater effect that increased its power even more. The divine general of the Serpent God Hall successfully received the first 5 strikes. From the 6th to the 8th strike, he began to pale as a streak of blood ran from the corner of his mouth. With the arrival of the 9th strike, he immediately became heavily injured, flying backward as he vomited blood. Chapter 891, A Chaotic Battle, 2, one of the disciplinary elders used his self-invented pseudo-Tian level saint technique to heavily injure one of the divine generals, before immediately flying onward in pursuit of the other divine general who charged at Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang. With a powerful enemy incoming, the divine general could not afford to pay attention to the trio. The veins on his arms bulged and ripped through his sleeves. They quickly turned into two thick claws that shone with a cold light. They were extremely tough. The 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall were originally serpent dragons. Their most powerful weapons were their rock-breaking claws. After his hands turned into the claws, he quickly swung them at the incoming disciplinary elder. The elder's weapon was a 5-meter-long spear. He stabbed out with lightning speed as an extremely powerful ripple of energy coiled around the spear. He became embroiled in an intense fight with the divine general. At this moment, the divine general who had been injured by the disciplinary elder's pseudo-Tian level saint technique flew over pale-faced. He stared icily at the disciplinary elder who was busy with his companion and said coldly, "Your pseudo-Tian level saint technique is still not the real deal in the end. If you had come up with a real Tian level saint technique, I would have been injured to the point where I would struggle to recover if I didn't die. A pity, such a pity. Mo Yen, keep him busy. I'll bring the 3 people over. Let me handle this person. You go get the 3 of them. This is the Heaven's Spirit Hall's land, so we can't stick around for too long. It'll become troublesome when other experts rush over," the divine general called Mo Yen replied gruffly. The other divine general immediately flew toward Jian Chen and the other 2 as soon as he heard that without any hesitation. "This is the territory of our Heaven's Spirit Hall. Don't you dare take them away." 9 palms of overlapping waves. The disciplinary elder cried out once again and cast the pseudo-Tian level saint technique once more. "Don't think you're the only one with pseudo-Tian level saint techniques. I know many too. They might not have been invented by me, but they're not any weaker than yours." Serpent Dragon's Rage. Mo Yen roared at the sky and tremendous quantities of energy immediately condensed into a storm which constantly coiled around him. In the end, it transformed into a huge jet-black serpent dragon that was hundreds of meters in length. The serpent dragon was completely condensed from energy. The terrifying power within it shook up the surroundings, causing the space to tremble and collapse. The energy was so great that it seemed to surpass the limits of space and tiny cracks to appear everywhere. This occurred in the sea realm where the space was tougher than outside. If an intense battle like this had occurred in the outside world, the space would have probably collapsed long ago. Roar! The serpent dragon roared furiously at the sky. Terrifying sound waves shook up the trio's eardrums to point where it hurt. Afterward, the serpent dragon transformed into a black streak of light that charged toward the disciplinary elder with an unstoppable force. It collided with the 9 palms of overlapping waves and produced a deafening boom. The terrifying ripples of residual energy wreaked havoc in the surroundings as if it was trying to completely destroy the area. The other 2 elders also reached a climax in the fight with the divine generals of the Serpent God Hall. They all struck out with their full strength, creating great booms every time they clashed. The battle was grand and earth-shaking. The 3 disciplinary elders were trapped well and truly by the 3 divine generals. They were too busy for Jian Chen's group and were only able to watch helplessly as a divine general drew closer to them. "We need to split up," yelled Jian Chen. Afterward, they immediately scattered off in different directions. However, the disparity between their strength and the divine generals was just too great. Despite his injuries, he was still extremely powerful, catching all 3 of them in just a short while. "It's wishful thinking for you to want to escape from us 4 divine generals with your puny strength. I might as well beat you till you're heavily injured since you want to flee that much. Let's see if you still have the power to run then," sneered the divine general as he grabbed the 3 of them. Afterward, he struck out with his palm thrice, hitting each of them and directly injecting the terrifying energy into them. It obliterated their organs. Spurt! 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 All three of them sprayed out a mouthful of bloody mist each as their organs were destroyed. They immediately became extremely pale and greatly injured. A strike from a fifth heavenly layer was too much to withstand for both Nubi's body as a beast of antiquity and Jian Chen's chaotic body. They were all injured as they could not resist. All of their clothes had turned to dust, with only Jian Chen's golden silk mail in a whole piece. It had dulled instead. What's this piece of clothing? It didn't break after taking a palm strike of mine. It must be some treasure. The divine general was attracted to the golden silk mail on Jian Chen. Interest appeared in his eyes, before he directly ripped it off Jian Chen's body. With the silk mail taken, Jian Chen's heart sunk abruptly. Although he was heavily injured, his eyes formed an extremely severe glare. He stared fixedly at the divine general and gnashed his teeth. You will definitely regret it if you take that item away. The divine general's eyes became cold. He sneered, regret? Right, you have the ruler's chi. You'll definitely be able to reach the peak of the 16th star and exceed me greatly. You do indeed have the right to make me regret things. However, do you think you'll live until then? Once we return to the Serpent God Hall, it'll be your deaths. The divine general did not continue to ramble after that. He locked up the three of them using his spatial force, before flying toward the territory of the Serpent God Hall with them. Now we're screwed. I should never have followed these guys. Now I can't even enjoy my last 100 years of life, thought Xia Wang as he regretted inside. His face was ashen, and he was already certain that he would die. Suddenly, a streak of blue light shot over from afar with lightning speed. It traveled directly for Jian Chen and Nubis, but no one could see exactly what it was. The divine general's face became cold. He directly hurled a fist at the streak of blue light. The ball of blue light avoided the divine general's fist nimbly and arrived beside Jian Chen and Nubis. It constantly flew around them as it produced happy bird cries. Only then did they discover that the ball of blue light was actually a fist-sized bird. The divine general's expression could not help but change when he noticed the blue bird. He cried out involuntarily, an abyssal bird. For vast presences suddenly appeared at that moment. For experts who were not any weaker than the four divine generals of the Serpent God Hall directly made their way toward them. These four traveled extremely fast, traversing several dozen kilometers in a mere second to arrive before Jian Chen's group. The divine general immediately revealed an ugly expression as the four people appeared. He snarled, Qing Yishuan, O Yun, Mo Iran of the 8 great human experts and Lei Batian of the 5 great magical beast experts. Why have you come? Their sudden appearances caused a slight change to the situation at hand. The 3 divine generals and the 3 disciplinary elders immediately stopped fighting. The experts of the 3 halls stood in a triangle, while Jian Chen, Nubis and Xia Wang lay in the center. They all watched the abyssal bird constantly fly about Jian Chen and Nubis, each and every one of them shocked. That's an abyssal bird that lives in the Sea of Despair. It's known to be the natural enemy of the sea race, so why is it being so close with the 2 of them? Similar thoughts appeared in the heads of everyone present in that moment. They were filled with suspicion and curiosity as to why the bird was acting so close with Jian Chen and Nubis. The abyssal bird constantly flew around the 2 of them as a blue streak of light. It produced cheerful cries, before landing on Nubis and Jian Chen's shoulder, constantly hopping around. At the same time, the water spirit's peals that changed their presences trembled gently. A faint presence leaked out from it. Has the water spirit's pearl within us attracted the abyssal bird? Similar thoughts appeared in both Jian Chen and Nubis' heads at this moment. Lei Batian stared fixedly at the bird. He sent a mental message to Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun. The hall master said the abyssal bird can find the target. Looks like they're the 2 people the hall master wants us to bring back safely. Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun shifted their gazes from the bird at the same time with that and looked at the 3 of them. However, When Qing Yishuan saw Jian Chen and Nubis, she first became stunned, before recognizing them. She immediately fell into a rage. She stared viciously at Jian Chen as flames of anger burned in her eyes. She cried out, "It's actually you two bastards. I have to kill the two of you." A sword immediately appeared in her hand. Qing Yishuan had become engulfed by anger, forgetting about the hall master's mission and the current situation. She lifted her sword as she advanced toward Jian Chen and Nubis for revenge. "Qing Yishuan, what are you doing? Stop!" Lei Batian immediately stopped Qing Yishuan. The hall master had personally ordered them to bring back the people that the abyssal bird acted close with. How could he watch Qing Yishuan kill them off? Lei Batian, it's the two of them. They're the brats who used underhanded methods to steal the Octaterra map fragment from me. Let go of me. Qing Yishuan's face was icy cold. Her eyes were filled with coldness and endless killing intent. Having her undergarments stolen was equivalent to an invasion of her holy land. This was an inerasable shame to her. Only by killing the two of them could she dissolve this hatred. Whether it was the 3 disciplinary elders of the Heaven's Spirit Hall or the 4 divine generals of the Serpent God Hall, all of their gazes toward the two of them underwent some minute changes when they heard that they had actually stolen the Octaterra map fragment from the famed Qing Yishuan. Just the courage to steal something from the 5th heavenly layer Saint King Qing Yishuan as saint rulers was already exceedingly admirable, and they had even succeeded in it. It made it seem even more unbelievable. Chapter 892, The Saint Artifact Exposed. Jian Chen and Nubis were both pale-faced as a trail of blood ran from the corner of their mouths. They looked at each other with extremely weird expressions. Neither of them thought they would meet Qing Yishuan again at this exact moment. However, Jian Chen soon smiled bitterly. He still remembers exactly how he stole the Octaterra map fragment from her. As it was a tight situation, Jian Chen did not put much consideration into it as he hurried away. Not only did he steal the map fragment, he even stole her undergarment. The undergarment was still in his space ring. Xia Wang completely shut up when he heard that the two of them had offended Qing Yishuan of the 8 great human experts as well. He was completely defeated by Jian Chen and Nubis' foolhardiness. The two of them really did not fear death. Not only were they willing to kill people of the Serpent God Hall and the Heaven's Spirit Hall, they had even stolen things from one of the 8 famed human experts. They sure were reckless. Xia Wang always moved alone. He feared nothing, rampaging through the sea realm with his supreme strength and his strange abilities. However, only now did Xia Wang realize in sorrow that he was nothing compared to Jian Chen and Nubis. At least he would avoid causing any offense to the halls, and at least he would not steal from the 8 great human experts. I may be quite smart most of the time, but I really do screw up really bad when I do. Why couldn't I just resist the enticement of the divine water back then and not follow them? Now I'm done for. Let alone getting the divine water in 50 years, I'm not even sure if I can live through this current moment, thought Xia Wang as he constantly grumbled inside. Lei Batian, O Yun, and Mo Ziren stared at the two of them in doubt. Mo Ziren said with suspicion, "Qing Yishuan, didn't you say that the juniors that stole the Octaterra map fragment were a human and a magical beast? They have the sea race's presence. Have you misidentified them?" "Yeah, Qing Yishuan, they're clearly members of the sea race." "Surely you've recognized the wrong people," Lei Batian also said with suspicion. Qing Yishuan observed the two of them carefully once more and indeed discovered that their presences were vastly different despite their appearances being extremely similar. A person could change his appearance at will, but it was extremely difficult to change their presence, let alone transforming it into a member of the sea race from a human or magical beast. Qing Yishuan finally calmed down from her rage when she noticed that. The light in her eyes flickered as she observed the two of them fixedly. A sliver of doubt appeared on her face as she thought, have I really misidentified them? The two detestable brats who stole the map fragment must be someone else, but why do they look so similar? Lei Batian glanced at the uneasy Qing Yishuan and sent a mental message. Qing Yishuan, don't forget about what the Hall Master has tasked us with. I don't care who took the map fragment, but they're the two people who the Hall Master wanted us to find. We need to bring them back safely no matter what. Qing Yishuan nodded and said nothing. However, she always glanced toward the two of them, intentionally or otherwise. Their presences were different, but she felt like the two of them were indeed the two brats who had initially stolen the map fragment from her. It was just the transformation in their presences that made her unsure. She was afraid that she had misidentified them. Lei Batian, Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, O Yun, have the four of you also come for these three? Asked a disciplinary elders of the Heaven Spirit Hall. Lei Batian crossed his arms and said boldly, Yep, we have indeed come for them. I believe you've already guessed that when you saw the abyssal bird. They're the people the Hall Master wants. We've come under her order for them. The Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall. Do they possess the same intentions as the other two halls in looking for us? Jian Qin thought quickly when he heard what Lei Batian had said and began to analyze. That doesn't seem right. The abyssal bird seems to be connected to the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall, yet the reason why the abyssal bird can find us is because of the water's spirit's pearls. The pearls were from that mysterious, unknown woman from before, and she had also said that if we can't stay in the territory of the Serpent God Hall, we could go to the Sea Goddess Hall. She said we would be safe there. Is that mysterious woman related to the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? Or is she the Hall Master? If that's really the case, it'll explain her great strength. The three Hall Masters are all Saint Emperors. Only they can repel the experts of the Beast God continent. Jian Chen, do you think that lady who gave us the pearls from before is the Hall Master of the Sea Goddess Hall? Nubis asked Jian Chen through a mental message. He clearly thought in a similar way. Jian Chen remained silent. He did not reply because he was unsure. What Lei Batian had said caused the four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders' expressions to change slightly. I never thought they'd draw the attention of the esteemed Sea Goddess Hall Master as well. What a surprise. However, they're enemies of the Serpent God Hall, so we need to take them away, said a divine general. Even when Lei Batian mentioned the Hall Master, he did not show any signs of backing away. His Serpent God Hall was not any weaker than the Sea Goddess Hall. And there is my Heaven Spirit Hall as well. They killed two of our elders, so we need to take them away. The Hall elders need to deal with them, growled a disciplinary elder. Mo Ziren began to laugh. Since all of us want to take them away and that none of us will back off, why don't we ask them for their opinion? We'll let them make the choice of who to leave with. No. Don't you dare. The experts of the Heaven Spirit Hall and the Serpent God Hall rejected Mo Ziren's suggestion without any extra thought. They knew that animosity was already present between their group and the trio, so they definitely would not choose to go with either one of them. Since everyone disagrees with my suggestion, do you have other good ideas to resolve this matter? Mo Ziren continued. All the disciplinary elders and divine generals remained silent. Now that all three forces had gathered, there was no other way of resolving it than through strength. However, it would still be very hard with their current standoff, as they would have to fight for several days and nights without a potential outcome. This was because they needed to devote some attention to the third party while they fought, so they could not use their full strength. At that moment, Lei Batian appeared before the three of them with a flash. He encased them with an invisible force with a wave of his hand, before shooting off in the direction he had come in with lightning speed. He's fled with them. Pursue. Lei Batian, don't you dare take them away. The four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders all became furious and chased after Lei Batian at the same time. Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun struck out in unison. They used all they had, keeping the four divine generals and the three disciplinary elders busy. However, as they all possessed the same cultivation levels and similar strengths, the three human experts were unable to keep all seven of them busy due to the huge disparity in numbers. 4 immediately shot past them and headed toward Lei Batian. Lei Batian flew toward the territory of the sea goddess Hall at full speed with the trio. Since he needed to carry them, his speed was slower than the people behind. As a result, they managed to grow closer and closer. Lei Batian knew that he would be caught up by the 4 of them sooner or later if it continued like this. He gritted his teeth and said to the trio, "I need to block them, so I can't flee with you. Just keep flying in this direction and you'll be able to reach the sea goddess hall. Once you're there, you'll be safe." With that, he poured all his strength into his hands and tossed them far away. Afterward, he turned to the 4 experts with a huge hammer in his hand, facing off against them in a battle. Qing Yishuan, Mo Ziren, and O Yun also abandoned their opponents and flew over. They worked with Lei Batian, fighting off the 7 people with the 4 of them as they retreated. Jian Chen, Nubis, and Xia Wang did not stop at all. After being thrown away by Lei Batian, they immediately regained their bearings and flew toward the sea goddess hall's territory. They covered several tens of thousands of kilometers in a few seconds. "We can't let them escape," called out the disciplinary elders and the divine generals. In that moment, they were actually working together, first knocking away Lei Batian and the other 3 before sending their powerful attacks in unison at the trio that neared the horizon. 4 serpent dragons and 3 savage beasts shot through the sky, flying toward the 3 with extreme speed. They completely locked onto the trio's presence, so that they could not shake them off no matter how much they changed their direction. "It'll be problematic now." Lei Batian revealed an ugly expression. The powerful strikes from the 7 of them shot off exceedingly fast, surpassing the speed at which they could travel at completely. They did not have the power to block it even if they wanted to. The 3 of them could not help but reveal ugly expressions when they realized that the 7 savage beasts completely condensed from energy were behind them. Even Jian Chen did not have the confidence that he could take on the powerful attacks from 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings and survive. "We can't take the attacks head-on or we'll be almost gone even if we don't die. We'll be incapacitated and lose our ability to flee," Jian Chen thought quickly. Shortly afterward, he gritted his teeth and a golden streak of light immediately shot out from between his eyebrows. He had used the Saint Artifact. Jian Chen no longer had the liberty to keep the Saint Artifact hidden at this moment in time. 7 attacks from 5th heavenly layer Saint Kings were incomparable to 2 3rd layer Saint Kings. Jian Chen would still be able to risk taking them head-on if they were the latter, but Jian Chen dared not to try it with the attacks from the former. "Don't resist." Jian Chen hurriedly sent Xia Wang a mental message. Afterward, the 3 of them disappeared with a flash of light. They had been sucked into the Saint Artifact. Just when they had disappeared, the 7 attacks had arrived. They struck the Saint Artifact forcefully, producing a deafening boom. Although the Saint Artifact possessed no offensive powers, its defenses could not be underestimated as a result. Other than Saint Emperors, no one could cause it any harm. Not only did the 7 attacks fail to harm the 3 of them after the Saint Artifact received it, they borrowed the artifact to fly off with an even greater speed. "What treasure is that? Not only can it store living people, it can even withstand the attacks from the 7 of us and come out fine," cried out a disciplinary elder as he watched the golden Saint Artifact. His eyes lit up. Even the 4 divine generals and Lei Batian's group revealed similar expressions. This was a rare and unique treasure in the world since it was able to store people inside as well as take on the attacks from 7 fifth heavenly layer Saint Kings and come out unscathed. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.